Chapter 4877. She still hated him. Mu Zian was so angry that her face turned red. She had thought that Lan Luochen would accompany her back to the mansion when he saw her like this. Who would have thought that he would abandon her and still pursue that bitch? Good, very good. However, a little bitch from a low-level continent could easily kill her. After He Xinjiu ran back to the third room, she directly returned to her own courtyard. Hong Ling saw that she was flustered and could not help but ask with concern, "Miss, what's wrong?" "Don't mention it. I met a mad dog, it scared me to death." Yun Shujiu patted her chest and said. Hong Ling was dumbfounded. Mad dog? It would be over if she just slapped her to death. Was there a need to be so scared? She did not dare to ask further. She brought a basin of water and asked Yun Shujiu to wash her hands. After that, she brought some melon seeds and snacks and left. He Xinjiu was extremely satisfied with Hong Ling. She grabbed a handful of melon seeds and was about to eat them when Lan Luofeng rushed in. Her eyes were full of gossip. "Little Jiu, you knew that Lan Luochen in the past?" Yun Shujiu pouted. "Don't mention him in front of me. I won't bother others if you mention him." Lan Luofeng went up to her and asked curiously, "Little Jiu, tell me what's going on. Maybe I can give you some advice." Yun Shujiu thought for a while and thought that she would have to ask Lan Luofeng to cover for her in the future, so she said simply, "He said that he likes me, but he wants to kill my fiancé. Do you think such a person is scary?" Lan Luofeng opened her mouth in surprise. "Oh God, is he crazy? Isn't it important to love each other? How can he kill your fiancé? Is your fiancé okay?" "My fiancé is an unparalleled hero. Why would he be afraid of a piece of trash like him?" He Xinjiu said with pride. Then, her face fell. "It's just that I haven't heard from him in a long time. Now that this piece of trash has come out of the Forbidden Land, I'm really worried." Lan Luofeng comforted her. The lifespan of cultivators is much longer than that of ordinary people. So, what you said about a long time is actually not that long. I guess there will be news soon. Don't sigh. You're right. It's just that whenever I think of that scum, my head hurts. If only he was locked up in the forbidden area again or directly died. But, what did he do wrong? If she could accept him, he could completely not kill Di Biming. Everything he did was just so that he could be together with her for a long time. At this time, the housekeeper of the third branch received the news that Lan Luochen had barged into the residence and rushed over. "Young Master Luochen, isn't it a little, not too good for you to barge into our third branch without permission?" The housekeeper saw Lan Luchen's gloomy expression and could not even speak properly. Lan Luochen ignored him. Instead, he pushed open the courtyard door and walked straight into the courtyard. Yun Shujiu had already noticed him a long time ago. The words she said just now were also for him to hear, so she wasn't surprised. On the other hand, Lan Luofeng was shocked. She remembered what she said about him being crazy. She was so scared that she shivered and quickly hid behind Yun Shujiu. Lan Luochen clenched his hands tightly and stared at Yun Shujiu. "Little Jiu, no matter if you accept it or not, you are still mine. I will let someone choose a good day and then we will get married." Chapter 4878. There's only one thing I want in this life, Ba. Lan Luochen, do you still want to be shameless? I was born to be a gigolo, but am a gigolo's ghost when I die. Where are you going? Yun Shujiu said coldly. Little Jiu, this is the Chongshao continent, and this is the Lan family. Do you think you have the right to resist? How am I inferior to that Di Biming? When you are in danger, how many times have I been by your side instead of that Di Biming? Furthermore, he can't even protect himself, how can he guarantee your happiness? I can swear here that as long as you and I get married, I will not find any trouble with Di Biming from now on. I will even think of all ways to save your parents. I will treat you like a treasure, and I will never abandon you for all eternity. Lan Luochen practically roared. Yun Shujia's face was not touched but cold. Lan Luochen, do you think what you said is very touching? Do you think that your so-called love for me is earth-shattering? Unfortunately, you don't know what love is. You only love yourself. What you pursue is your obsession. I also swear that I will never accept you in this life or the next. I will never marry you. Just give up. Lan Luochen saw the determination on Yun Shujia's face and his face turned pale. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Pavilion Master. Yuan Ji, who had rushed over, quickly supported Lan Luochen and fed him a pill. Yuan Ji looked at Yun Shujio like a sharp blade. Miss Yun, your heart is harder than a stone. Even if you don't accept our Pavilion Master's affection, you don't have to provoke him. I really feel that our Pavilion Master is not worth it. Yun Shujio laughed mockingly. Yuan Ji, you seem to have made a mistake. I wasn't the one who made your Pavilion Master insist on pestering me, and I wasn't the one who made him persist in not coming to his senses. If you have the time, you should persuade this madman to stop. If he is willing to stop, he is my eldest cousin after all. I can let bygones be bygones. From now on, the road will be clear, and we will go our separate ways. Just treat it as me returning his favor. Yuan Ji almost vomited blood from the rebuke. In his heart, he had a hard time explaining to his master. There were plenty of fish in the sea. Why must he like this cold-hearted troublemaker? Putting everything else aside, that Mu Zian was much better than this Yun Shujio. To have a family background, to have good looks, and to be deeply in love with the Pavilion Master, she was 100 times better than Yun Shujio. Unfortunately, the Pavilion Master was too stubborn. But now, he had not fully recovered from his injuries. In the end, he was so angry that he vomited blood. His bright future was ruined by himself. Lan Luochen felt better after taking the pill. He looked at Yun Shujio and said word by word, Little Jiu, I will not give up. You will understand sooner or later that I am not obsessed with you. I only want one thing in my life, and that is to be with you forever. It doesn't matter whether you accept it or not. I don't care because I believe that as long as I treat you well enough, you will accept me sooner or later. Yun Shujio touched her forehead. Lan Luochen, I beg you. What do you like about me? Can't I change it? I beg you, don't like me anymore, okay? Your liking is really unbearable. I'm afraid. Lan Luochen smiled bitterly. What do I like about you? As long as it's you, regardless of your flaws or strengths, I like you. Even if you scold me, I'm willing to endure it. Yun Shujio, damn it, this was a psychopath. Chapter 4879 No matter if you die or you die. Yun Shujio looked at Lan Luochen speechlessly. She had nothing to say to him now. If she could turn back time, she would rather not know him. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Yun Shujio took a deep breath. Hong Ling, bring a chair over. Hong Ling was already scared silly. She hurriedly brought out a chair from the house. Yun Shujio gestured for Lan Luochen to sit down and talk. Lan Luochen's eyes suddenly flashed with a light. Has little Jiu changed her mind? After Lan Luochen sat down, Yun Shujio said, Lan Luochen, let's have a peaceful talk today. I hope you will listen to what I have to say next. Lan Luochen nodded. He was so nervous that he didn't know where to put his hands. It had been a long time since he sat down face to face with little Jiu. Yun Shujio sighed and said, Lan Luochen, you saved my life and have silently done many things for me. I thank you. In the future, if you need my help, I will return your favor. However, this doesn't mean that I will forgive you for hurting the gigolo in the name of liking me. If he wasn't lucky, he would have died in your hands last time. Also, I don't have the obligation to respond to your feelings. If you don't like me, then you don't like me. No matter how much you give to me, I won't like you. If you truly love someone, the first thing you should consider is the other party's feelings and not satisfy your own selfish desires. You shouldn't hurt innocent people in the name of love. You can see what Brother Wuji has done. Back then, he was blind and fell in love with me. After he found out that I was uninterested in him, he let go of me freely. We are now like brother and sister. Lan Luochen, I hope that you can let go. After all, we were once friends. I don't want to fight to the death with you. One day, you will meet a woman who is in love with you. Why are you so stubborn? If you continue to be wrong, there will really be no turning back. Whether you die or you die, this is not the result I want to see. The corner of Yuan Ji's mouth twitched. What did he mean by, whether you die or you die? Wasn't this the same meaning? Didn't he say that my master lost his life? However, she was right about one thing. Those who took a fancy to her were indeed blind. Lan Luchen's hopeful gaze instantly dimmed. He said with difficulty, Little Jiu, if you had met me first and not Biming, would you have liked me? Yun Shujiu laughed lightly, there is no hypothesis in this world. Moreover, loving someone has nothing to do with time. If I had a choice, I would rather have never met you. This way, you won't hurt yourself, and you won't cause trouble for me. Yun Shujiu felt very tired. Talking to such a crazy person was like casting a lute to a cow. Lan Luochen, I will not talk nonsense with you. Remember, I will not like you. If you dare to hurt the gigolo again, I will definitely not let you off. Lan Luochen did not speak for a long time. Just when Yun Shujiu thought he was mute, he slowly said, all right, I promise you. From today onwards, I will not be enemies with Biming, but I will not give up on you. Chapter 4880 is Beyond Redemption? Yun Shujiu looked at Lan Luochen suspiciously. Is what you said true? Of course. If I lie, my soul will scatter and I will be beyond redemption. Lan Luochen swore to the heavens. Yun Shujiu felt a huge weight lifted off her heart. No matter what, as long as this Lan Luochen did not cause trouble for the gigolo, everything else was negotiable. If he was willing to pester her, she would just ignore him. Moreover, when her wings were fully grown, she would no longer be able to stay in the Lan family, and he would no longer be able to pester her. Thinking of this, Yun Shujiu revealed a sincere smile. Big cousin, if that's really the case, then that would be the best. Lan Luochen also revealed a faint smile. Little Jiu, in the past, I was too extreme. From today onwards, I will not find trouble with Biming. However, my feelings for you can be seen by heaven and earth. One day, you will accept me. Yun Shujiu shook her head with a bitter smile. No matter what, she had finally made some progress. Perhaps he would be able to understand it after a period of time. Lan Luchen's face was very pale because he spat out a mouthful of blood just now. After saying a few words, he was forcefully supported away by Yuan Ji. Lan Luofeng clicked her tongue and said, Little Jiu, I didn't expect you to be quite popular. There are actually 2 men, no, 3 men fighting for a woman. But speaking of this, I feel that although Lan Luchen's brain is a little bad, he seems to be sincere to you. Are you really indifferent to him? Yun Shujiu glanced at her, and then said leisurely, when you like someone, you will know that there is no one else in your heart other than that person. Even though Lan Luochen is good, he is not my type. Moreover, he is a psychopath. He hurt my gigolo in the name of liking me. I am too weak. Otherwise, I would have killed him long ago. What else do I like? Lan Luofeng nodded. That's true. He is a little stubborn. No matter what, he should not hurt your fiancé. However, didn't he say that? He won't target your fiancé in the future. Don't worry. Yun Shujiu sighed. I hope so. To be honest, she didn't really believe Lan Luchen's words. After all, how could such a stubborn person be so easily persuaded? However, in order to stabilize him, she believed his words. On the other side, after leaving the third room, Yuan Ji asked, Pavilion Master, is what you said just now true? Lan Luchen's face was terrifyingly gloomy, of course it's not true. As long as Di Biming doesn't die, little Nine will not accept me. But you just swore a poison oath, so what if my soul is scattered and I'm doomed? As long as little Nine can accept me, even if it's just for a day, my life will not be in vain. Lan Luochen said casually. A sentence flashed through Yuan Ji's mind. Crazy. Their pavilion master had completely gone crazy. For that troublemaker, he could even say such words. How could he not see what was so good about that troublemaker? Just as he was thinking about it, Lan Luochen sneered. However, since that Di Biming hasn't shown up yet, he must have met with a big problem. If he died just like that, it would save me a lot of trouble. Pavilion Master, what you said makes sense. The Divine Devil Hall has always wanted to get rid of him, so they naturally won't let it go. I reckon there's no need for you to take action. Yuan Ji echoed. Chapter 4881, Muzian's maid, Xiao Yu, was originally waiting at the door of the main room. She wanted to find a catalyst to invite Lan Luochen to the guest house to see Muzian. However, when she saw Lan Luchen's pale face, she did not dare to go forward to speak and hurriedly returned to the guest house. After Muzian heard Xiao Yu's words, she could not help but frown. Cousin is injured? Could it be related to that Yunchuzhou? Go and call Lan Luoyen over. Yes. A moment later, Lan Luoyen came over. The moment she entered the room, she said eagerly, Sister Xian, are you all right? I originally wanted to come over to visit, but I was caught up in some miscellaneous matters. Mu Xian smiled faintly. Sister Luoyen, you don't have to be so polite. I'm fine. Oh right, tell me about that Yunchuzhou. Hearing Mu Xian mention Yunchuzhou, Lan Luoyen said with a dark expression, that stupid girl came from Towering Sky Continent. I don't know what kind of dog, shit, and luck she had to get the favor of our Lan family's patriarch. She had caused trouble several times, but in the end, it was all forgotten. A few days ago, she was brought to the Zen sect by the patriarch. The Lan Luofang and Yunchuzhou that you helped me deal with before were all the same. They were not good people. Sister Xian, why did you suddenly ask about her? Mu Xian smiled bitterly. Cousin Luochen said that he was going to marry Yunchuzhou. I was curious, so I asked. What? Impossible. How could Brother Luochen have anything to do with that Yunchuzhou? Sister Xian, could you have misunderstood something? Lan Luoyen jumped up immediately. She couldn't believe her ears. Cousin Luochen told me this himself, how could it be wrong? I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. I came here originally to talk about the engagement with Cousin Luochen, who would have thought, Mu Xian said until here and started to cry. Lan Luoyen comforted her, then said, Sister Xian, don't worry, even if Brother Luochen was blinded by lard, grandfather and ancestor would definitely not agree. Only you are worthy of Brother Luochen. That Yunchuzhou can't even compare to a strand of your hair. Mu Xian wiped her tears and said, by the way, Sister Luoyen, I heard that my cousin was injured when he came back from the third room. Do you know what happened? Lan Luoyen was at a loss. She finally understood why Mu Xian called her over and said, Sister Xian, I'll send someone to investigate. I'll tell you if there's any news. You don't have to think too much. That bitch must have used some tricks in the Chongshao continent to make Brother Luochen fall in love with her. As long as you interact more with Brother Luochen will definitely change his mind. After all, you saved his life. Why don't I accompany you to see Brother Luochen? Mu Xian's heart skipped a beat when she heard this. Could this really be the case? Lan Luoyen saw that she was tempted, so she directly dragged her to the outside of Lan Luchen's courtyard. There were guards guarding the entrance of Lan Luchen's courtyard. Lan Luoyen said with some jealousy, the ancestor is biased towards Brother Luochen, and even arranged guards for him. Mu Xian smiled. The reason why she liked Lan Luochen was not only because of his outstanding looks and cultivation, but also because Lan Luochen was so highly regarded by the ancestor of the Lan family. He was definitely the next head of the Lan family. Chapter 4882 was similar to that troublemaker. After the guards went in to pass the message, they let Lan Luoyen and Mu Zian in. Mu Zian saw Lan Luchen's pale face and immediately showed a worried expression. "Cousin, are you all right? How did this happen?" Lan Luochen said indifferently, "It's all right. Didn't your old injury relapse before? Are you all right now?" Mu Zian heard Lan Luchen's words and was delighted. It seemed that he still cared about her. She said shyly, "Thank you for your concern, cousin. I'm fine after taking the pill." She remembered what Lan Luoyen had said before and asked expectantly, "Cousin, were you joking when you said you were going to get married?" "Of course I wasn't joking. In a few days, I will propose to little Jiu," Lan Luochen said with certainty. Mu Zian's expression froze and Lan Luoyen quickly said, "I'm not joking. Brother Luochen, don't you know how big sister Zian feels about you? How can that Yunchujiu compare to big sister Zian? She is a troublemaker. Moreover, grandfather and ancestor will not agree to let you marry that troublemaker." Lan Luochen naturally knew how Mu Zian felt about him, but he only had Yunchujiu in his heart, so he naturally didn't take Mu Zian to heart. He said seriously, "Miss Mu, I will naturally repay you for saving my life. But I only have little Jiu in my heart, and my wife can only be her. Please don't waste your time on me." Mu Zian's face was flushed red as she covered her mouth and ran out crying. Lan Luoyen stomped her feet and chased after her. Yuan Ji, who had been watching the entire scene, had mixed feelings. To a certain extent, this Mu Zian was the same as his master. Since he couldn't get her, why force her? However, speaking of which, this Mu Zian was much stronger than that troublemaker. It would be great if his master could change his mind. All these things happened without exception and reached the ears of the Lan family's patriarch. The old man wearing a mask asked, "Master, I think young Master Luo Chen's obsession with Yunchujiu is quite deep. I'm afraid he won't accept Mu Zian. Who knows about the love between a man and a woman? Besides, that girl of the Mu family has many tricks up her sleeves. She naturally won't give up so easily. There will be a show to watch next," said the Lan family's patriarch excitedly. The old man's mouth twitched. Why does Master's expression now look somewhat similar to that troublemaker? Just as the old man was about to leave, the Lan family's patriarch said, "Send someone to keep an eye on her. Don't lose that little girl's life. She's still useful to me." In the guest house, Lan Luoyen was consoling Mu Zian, "Sister Zian, don't be sad. It's all that bitch Yunchujiu's fault. We'll find a chance to kill her. In this way, Brother Luochen will come back sooner or later." Mu Zian's eyes turned cold, but it disappeared in an instant. She cried and said, "Sister Luoyen, she's a member of the Lan family. If I kill her, your Lan family and our Mu family might become enemies. Sister Zian, it's not like you don't know that our Lan family believes in the law of the jungle. I'll deal with Yunchujiu. You just need to give me some advice behind the scenes. As long as you don't make a move directly, even our ancestors won't say anything." It wasn't that Lan Luoyen didn't know that Mu Zian was using her, but Mu Zian was also useful to her. They just needed each other. Mu Zian was very satisfied with Lan Luoyen's tactfulness. The two of them immediately began to plan. Chapter 4883, Buddha's Candle for Demons. After Yunchujiu sent Lan Luofang away, she returned to her room to prepare for her cultivation. Suddenly, she remembered something important and called Hong Ling into her bedroom. "Has Mount Meru been struck by lightning recently? It has been more than a month since the last time." "Miss, I was just about to tell you about this strange matter. More than 10 days ago, Mount Meru was struck by lightning again. However, the speed of the lightning this time was very fast. In the past, it would take at least 6 to 6 hours, but this time, it was finished in an hour. Many people guessed that something might have happened to the thing on Mount Meru. After the lightning stopped, many people went to look for it, but they didn't find anything," Hong Ling said. Yun Shujo touched her chin. The reason why Wu Yun struck so fast was because he was afraid that she would fish for its wings, right? It was really a thief. However, what exactly was in Mount Meru? If it was not for the sake of a long-lasting relationship, she would definitely find that thing. Just as Yun Shujo was thinking about it, her left and right hands suddenly started to fight without her. Hong Ling looked at her young Miss left and right hands that were fighting so fiercely and was dumbfounded. What kind of kung fu was young Miss practicing? Hong Ling, you can go out first. Don't come in if I don't call you, and don't let anyone else in, Yun Shujo said through gritted teeth. Hong Ling went out obediently and even closed the door. Yun Shujo scolded angrily, get out here. As she spoke, a small flame jumped out from her right palm, and a Buddha's candle jumped out from her left palm. When the two came out, they immediately fought together. Yun Shujo opened the isolation array and roared, all of you, stop. Tell me, what is going on? Yun Shujo felt stifled. Not only could Guai Chao control her body, but now these two could control her hands as well. She was too aggrieved as her master. Buddha's candle said angrily, there's no me, there's no him, there's no me. How can a 10,000-year-old fire marrow occupy my right hand? I'm stronger than it, I should occupy my right hand. The little flame could not speak, but the emotions that it gave back to Yun Shujo were very indignant. It was obvious that it was furious. Yun Shujo slapped Buddha's candle away. Get lost. Are you still being picky? Don't you know what is first come, first served? If you don't want to stay in your left palm, go into your storage ring. Buddha's candle's wick trembled, you heartless person. You don't know how to cherish me. If I knew this, I wouldn't let you have me no matter what. She raised her hand and was about to put Buddha's candle into her storage ring when she heard Buddha's candle say proudly, if you put me into your storage ring and the things inside will be burned to ashes by me. If you are willing to take it, then take it. Hearing that, Yun Shujo had no choice but to give up on the idea of putting it into her storage ring. She stared at it coldly. So, when you signed the contract with me, you were planning to burn me to death? Buddha's candle said with some guilt, no, that's not true. You are so powerful, no one can burn you to death. Yun Shujo sneered, do you think I will believe you? It seems that you will only stop when I remove your wick. Seeing that Yun Shujo was really going to make a move, Buddha's candle was immediately paralyzed. If it had known that this would happen, it would not have done anything evil. Wait, I'll tell you a secret. Please spare me this time. Buddha's candle said pitifully. Chapter 4884 Your parents are demons. Yun Shujo looked at Buddha's candle suspiciously. What secret? Clown candle, if you dare to deceive me, I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. Buddha's candle cursed in its heart. It was living a life worse than death now, all right? If it had known earlier, it would not have provoked this female demon in the first place. Sigh, it was all in tears. Although Buddha's candle grumbled in his heart, he said obsequiously, how would I dare to deceive you? Besides, I can't deceive you. All right, stop wasting time. Tell me, what's secret? Yun Shujo said impatiently. Buddha's candle was furious. He was an existence that could summon wind and rain in the Zen sect, but he had been defeated by this female devil twice in a row. He was really unlucky. I once heard Wu and the 3 young monks talking. I think the 2 people locked up are your parents from the devil race. Buddha's candle said mysteriously. Yun Shujo was shocked. The devil race? How could it be? Yi Lan was from the Yi family, and Yun Fengjin was from the Yun family. It was a certainty. How could it be the devil race? Buddha's candle was afraid that Yun Shujo would think that it was lying, so it said with confidence, what I said is true. I heard the 3 young monks say it with my own ears. Moreover, they didn't want to lock up your parents. It seems that they were ordered to do so by someone. Yun Shujo was stunned again. Ordered by who? Who can order the Zen sect? Then I don't know. After all, I have been asleep for so many years, and I don't know many things. I also lost a lot of memories. Speaking of which, it's also my fault. It's my fault for sending a few. Buddha's candle originally said that it was all your fault, but he swallowed his words. Yun Shujo did not continue to force Buddha's candle. She was puzzled. How could her father and mother be demons? Could it be that they were demons in their previous lives? That was the only possibility. Then the question came. How did the person who ordered the Zen sect know that her parents were demons in their previous lives? Also, if her parents were demons in their previous lives, why were they reincarnated into humans? She recalled that Di Biming had said that the seal in Xue Wuji's body was related to demons. Could it be that her parents were related to Xue Wuji in his previous life? The wick of the Buddha's candle flickered. Seeing that Yun Shujo was deep in thought, it provoked the little flame once again. The little flame had not fully recovered yet, so it did not know that the Buddha's candle was tricking it. It immediately rushed towards the Buddha's candle. Buddha's candle immediately cried, "Master, help! Help! The little flame wants to kill me." Yun Shujo was in a state of turmoil. She immediately shouted at the little flame, "Little flame, are you done? Get out of my way." The little flame wanted to say that Buddha's candle had provoked it first, but it could not speak. It felt extremely wronged and flew out of the door in a fit of anger. However, by the time she left, the little flame had already disappeared. "Hongling, could you have seen a cluster of flames jump out?" Yun Shujo asked Hongling, who was guarding outside. Hongling shook her head in confusion. "No, miss, is there a fire in the house?" Yun Shujo did not agree. She anxiously jumped out of the courtyard to look for the little flame. Unfortunately, after searching for a long time, she still could not find the little flame. She used her spiritual sense to summon it, but it was useless. The little flame seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Chapter 4885. I treat the little fairy like my own mother. Buddha's candle looked like an obedient baby, afraid that Yun Shujo would vent her anger on it. However, this fellow was very happy in his heart. It would be better if that broken flame never came back. This way, it would have a chance to occupy the right palm of the female devil in the future. Hei Shinjo was already in a bad mood because of what Buddha's candle said. Now that the little flame had run away from home again, one could imagine how frustrated she was. She did not have the time to clean up Buddha's candle. After keeping it in her left palm, she wondered where little flame had run off to. Because she was worried about little flame, Hei Shinjo did not even eat dinner. But Fei said sourly, "Little fairy, you don't have to worry too much about it. It's not that my words are unpleasant, but you are its owner. What's wrong with saying a few words to it? You often kick me. Did I run away? If I run away, you will break my legs. You are spoiling it too much. You helped it find the fire marrow and the deviant flame. It is a white-eyed flame. There aren't many of it, but there aren't many of it. If it is willing to run, let it run. It will come back sooner or later, because there isn't such a good master as you." Yun Shujo sighed. "It is different from you. Its intelligence hasn't fully developed yet, so its mind is very simple. It must have thought that what I said before was really to make it leave me, so it ran away in anger. If people discover it, I'm afraid the consequences will be unimaginable." Dog 2 curled its lips. "Does it make sense that it's weak? Who asked it not to develop its intelligence? It should learn from me. The little fairy has abused me 1,000 times. I treat the little fairy like my own mother." Yun Shujo, at this moment, the sky had completely darkened. Yun Shujia's heart was in a mess. She was not in the mood to cultivate. She lay on the bed early to sort out the recent events. In her daze, she heard a faint noise coming from outside, and the noise was getting louder and louder. Yun Shujo frowned, got up, and went into the courtyard. Then, she jumped onto the roof. From afar, she could see many flames soaring into the sky. The entire imperial city seemed to be in the midst of the flames. Yunchujia's head buzzed. Even if she used her heels to think, she knew that this was definitely the doing of the little flame. Was it crazy? It actually set fire to play. It really needed to be taught a lesson. The guards in the manor saw Yunchujio and wanted to stop her, but when they saw her stern eyes, they immediately became terrified and watched her leave the manor. In the Lan family's main house, Mu Zian was talking to an old man. "Miss, I think this fire is quite strange. It seems to be caused by a heavenly flame or fire marrow. I'll go and take a look. If I can capture it, it can be used to aid in pill refinement," the old man said. "Elder Ju, be careful," Mu Zian said gently. Elder Ju nodded and disappeared into the night with a few leaps. Elder Ju deliberately avoided the great elder's courtyard. As for the others, Elder Ju did not care at all. Almost as soon as Elder Ju made his move, Lan Luochen received the news. He had a water spirit root and was not interested in fire marrow or heavenly flames. Therefore, he did not pay too much attention to it and only asked his subordinates to keep an eye on them. Elder Ju left the Lan family's main house and took out something that looked like an array disc. When he saw a light flashing in one of the directions, he was immediately delighted and rushed in that direction. Soon, he found a cluster of dancing flames in an abandoned house. His eyes immediately lit up and he took out a pair of gloves and put them on his hands. Then he grabbed at the small flame. Chapter 4886, The Little Flame of Regret. At this moment, the little flame was having a great time. Humph. Didn't I tell it to get lost? If it wanted to get lost, it would get lost. How wonderful it was now. It could play however it wanted to. It wanted to turn this city into a sea of fire. Although the little flame did not have full intelligence, it knew that it would be easily discovered during the day, so it only began to act at night. It was a 10,000-year-old fire marrow. Although it was only a young body, it was too easy to start a fire. It could easily burn a large area with a simple roll. However, it also knew that there were experts in the Blue Mansion and the Ancestral Mansion that were more dangerous, so it burned the houses that were relatively far away from the Blue Mansion. When it was jumping around happily, it instinctively felt the danger and hurriedly jumped forward, avoiding Elder Ju's hand. When it saw the glove on Elder Ju's hand, it immediately panicked. If it was an adult 10,000-year-old fire marrow now, it would be able to see the glove melt in an instant. However, it was only a juvenile and could not deal with the glove in a short period of time. Elder Ju's eyes were filled with greed as he said in a low voice, "Haha. I didn't expect it to be a juvenile 10,000-year-old fire marrow. What good fortune. With the help of the 10,000-year-old fire marrow, my alchemy skills will definitely reach the peak in the future." The little flame wanted to escape, but it did not know what method Elder Ju used. It was blocked by an invisible barrier. Although it could burn the barrier and escape, it would take time. And this short period of time was enough for Elder Ju to catch it. Elder Ju held the little flame tightly in his hand. His face was filled with joy. He had not come to the Imperial City for nothing this time. He had actually gained so much. Elder Ju knew the power of the 10,000-year-old fire marrow, so he did not intend to refine it. Instead, he took out a small cauldron. As long as he placed the little flame inside, it could only obediently become his possession and be trapped in the small cauldron for the rest of its life. The little flame took advantage of Elder Ju's ecstasy to struggle with all its might and luckily broke free from Elder Ju's hand. "Little thing, do you think you can escape?" Elder Ju said with a sinister smile, and once again clawed at the little flame. The little flame was both afraid and regretful. If it had known earlier, it would not have left even if the little girl scolded it 100 times. Woo woo, it was so scary outside. It wanted to go home. The little girl's palm was safer. Woo woo, who would save it? Just as the little flame was in despair, it heard a voice that sounded like the voice of an angel. "Tsk, tsk, old man, what are you doing here in the middle of the night?" Elder Just's attention was focused on the little flame, and only then did he notice that someone had come. He looked up and frowned. "Leave quickly, or it'll take your little life." Elder Ju was the guest elder of the Mu family. His mission this time was only to protect Mu Xian's safety. He had been cultivating in the guest courtyard of the main house, so he did not know Yin Chujiu. "Leave? The one you trapped is my little flame. The one who should be leaving should be you, right?" Yin Chujiu said with a chuckle. "Yours? What kind of joke is this? This is the 10,000-year-old fire marrow. What right do you have to refine this 10,000-year-old fire marrow? Little girl, I'm in a good mood today. Leave now, and I'll spare your life. Or I'll kill you," Elder Ju said as he went to catch the little flame. As for this little girl, he could kill her to silence her at any time. Yin Chujiu took out a sack of talismans and threw them at the transparent barrier. Anyway, the little flame was not afraid of explosion, so she would kill this old bastard. Chapter 4887. He was the one who started the fire. Elder Ju didn't take Yin Chujiu seriously when he first saw her take out a sack. A good-for-nothing of the 9th layer of the quietness of the soul wouldn't be his match no matter what tricks she used. However, he was dumbfounded when he saw that the sack was filled with talismans. Although the talismans in the sack didn't seem to be high-level talismans from the Chongshao continent, there were still a lot of them. The moment Elder Ju flashed his mind, the transparent barrier was blasted open. The huge shockwave forced Elder Ju to take a few steps back, and a huge pit appeared on the ground. When he came back to his senses, there was no sign of the little flame. He only saw that wretched girl looking at him with a smile. "Where's the 10,000-year-old fire marrow?" Elder Ju asked viciously. "Old master, are you out of your mind? 10,000-year-old fire marrow? Are you dreaming? Why would the 10,000-year-old fire marrow appear in the imperial city?" Yin Chujiu said with a smile. Elder Ju was not a fool. He immediately understood that the 10,000-year-old fire marrow must have been taken away by this smelly girl in front of him in some way. She was really courting death. "Hand over the 10,000-year-old fire marrow immediately, or I'll kill you. Old thing, I am a member of the Lan family. If you dare to touch a single hair on my head, we'll let you die without a burial ground," Yin Chujiu said arrogantly. "Lan family? Who does the Lan family think they are? Hurry up!" And, before Elder Ju finished his words, he heard a cold shout. "Oh? Who are you? How dare you? How dare you talk nonsense in the Lan family's territory?" The one who spoke was Third Elder Lan Dimeo. As for why he had arrived in such a timely manner, it was naturally He Xinjiu who had sent him the news. Lan Dimeo had been in the city directing the fire fighting, but he had just received a message from Yin Chujiu. "Great uncle, I've found the arsonist. Come over quickly." Therefore, Lan Dimeo had rushed over in a hurry and just happened to hear Elder Ju's words. Although Lan Dimeo did not know Elder Ju knew Lan Dimeo. His heart sank. It seemed that he would not be able to get the 10,000-year-old fire marrow today. It was not difficult to find another opportunity to be this wretched girl. Thinking of this, he was ready to reveal his identity to calm the situation. "Third Elder, He Xinjiu shouted, "Great uncle, he is the criminal who set the fire. He even tried to silence me just now. And he even said that the Lan family is a piece of shit. I think he must be a spy sent by some sworn enemy. Why don't you kill him now?" Lan Dimeo had heard Elder Ju say that the Lan family is nothing with his own ears, so he believed Yin Chujiu's words without a doubt. Elder Ju was proud and arrogant. He swallowed the words that he had wanted to explain. He thought to himself, "I'll defeat Lan Dimeo first and then reveal my identity. When that time comes, I'll see what face Lan Dimeo will have left." Just as he was about to release his spiritual beast, he did not expect to stumble. He was really unlucky. His strength and Lan Di Mao's were just a hair's breadth apart, and he had not been able to release his spiritual beast. How could he dodge Lan Di Mao's attack? Elder Ju was hit by Lan Di Mao's palm first, and then his right arm was wounded by the giant spiritual shark. Seeing that his life was in danger, he hurriedly shouted, "Wait!" Hei Shinjo didn't give him a chance to speak. She shouted, "Great uncle, he must be playing tricks. Kill him." Chapter 4888 was such a kind and good girl. Elder Ju was so angry that he almost died. He tried his best to dodge Lan Di Mao's attack and roared, "I am Mu, boom! Boom! Boom!" It turned out that Hei Shinjo was afraid that he would not be able to bear the responsibility. She secretly shot out dozens of purple needles. Although Elder Ju dodged some of them still hit him and exploded. Hei Shinjo held little bitch number 1 and stabbed at Elder Ju's front heart, saying while stabbing, "Uncle Grandpa, take his life while he is sick. Don't just stand there." Lan Di Mao was also afraid that Elder Ju was his sworn enemy and had some trump card in his hand, so he did not dare to be negligent and attacked Elder Ju again. Lan Di Mao. "I am the guest of the Mu family. Why aren't you stopping?" Elder Ju shouted in exasperation. Lan Di Mao was stunned. A guest of the Mu family? What was going on? "Great uncle, don't listen to his nonsense. He is clearly a thief who set the fire. Moreover, if he really is a member of the Mu family, if we offend him today, it will definitely not end well for us. We might as well kill him to silence him," Hei Shinjo said fiercely. Lan Di Mao gritted his teeth. He felt that what Yun Shujo said made sense. Since they had already formed a grudge, they could not leave him alive. Hence, not only did he not stop, he even intensified his attacks. Elder Ju was so angry that he wanted to send a message to Muzian. However, how could Lan Di Mao and Yun Shujo give him the opportunity to send a message? At this moment, Zhu Yang had already rushed over with his men. After joining the battle, he quickly killed Elder Ju. Lan Di Mao panted as he looked at Yun Shujo. "What do we do now?" "Great uncle, what's so difficult about this? He's an arsonist, so we naturally have to deal with him impartially." Yun Shujo blinked her eyes and said. Lan Di Mao's heart stirred. That's right. No matter what his identity was, as long as he was labeled as an arsonist, even the Mu family couldn't do anything to him. Who asked him to sneak out in the middle of the night? Perhaps he really was the one who set the imperial city on fire. Lan Di Mao did not have a good impression of the Mu family, because the Mu family wanted to marry the eldest son. The friend of the enemy was the enemy. Therefore, Lan Di Mao put away Elder Ju's body and continued to organize people to put out the fire. Yun Shujo also followed behind and was busy putting out the fire. When the citizens of the imperial city saw Hei Shinjo, whose face was covered in white and gray, they all sighed, "This mission came to help us put out the fire in the middle of the night. What a kind and good girl." Yeah, it's really rare to see such a young lady from a big family who is willing to help others regardless of her own safety. That's right. This cousin of the Lan family is much stronger than the other members of the Lan family. We almost wronged her last time, but she's still so warm-hearted. She's really too kind. Yun Shujo felt her conscience ache a little when she heard the discussion of the crowd. This guy whispered to Lan Di Mao beside him, "Uncle, doesn't that arsonist have a storage ring on him? Please put away the good things inside and distribute the remaining spiritual stones to the people who are affected by the disaster. In this way, your reputation will definitely surpass that of the eldest and second branch." Lan Di Mao thought for a moment. Since it was free money, it would be good to exchange it for a good reputation. Moreover, after bribing the people, these people would also be able to help him testify against the arsonist. Even if the Mu family wanted to cause trouble, they wouldn't be able to find a reason. Thus, Lan Dimeo put away some of the good things in Elder Just storage ring and took out a portion of spirit stones for people to distribute to the people who were affected by the disaster. Chapter 4889 was still as mischievous as ever. Lan Dimeo's action had indeed won praise from the people. They all praised the merits of Lan Dimeo and the Lan family. Lan Dimeo said after Yun Chujio reminded him, "Everyone, we have caught the arsonist. Please identify him and see if he is the one who set the fire." While speaking, Lan Dimeo threw Elder Just's body on the ground. His body had been badly mutilated by He Xinjia's purple needles. His original appearance could hardly be seen. However, the citizens were compensated. They did not care who the body on the ground was. They shouted, "Yes! It's him! We saw him clearly. We could recognize him even if he turned into ashes, that's right. We saw that the thief was wearing green clothes and his body. It was clearly him." Thankfully, Third Elder was smart enough to catch him in time. Otherwise, he might have set the fire again. Speaking of which, we should thank Miss Yun for the drill when she crashed into the city gate last time. Otherwise, we would have really panicked. Yes, Miss Yun is such a kind and good girl. She is our savior. She has the heart of a bodhisattva. He Xinjia's thick skin, which had been thick for thousands of years, finally turned a little red. Cough, 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 cough. She really deserved it. On the other side, Yuan Ji, who had seen the whole process, was dumbfounded. Although he knew that Yun Chujio was full of evil thoughts, wasn't this too evil? That little flame was obviously hers, so she was the main culprit of the fire in the city. However, in the end, not only did she successfully kill Elder Ju to silence him, but she also made the people in the city shed tears of gratitude for her. Oh God! If he hadn't seen what happened, he might have been deceived by her. No wonder his master was so obsessed with her. Who could escape from this guy's bad ideas? Perhaps she had given his master some kind of bewitching potion. Yuan Ji's expression was complicated as he reported the incident to Lan Luochen. Lan Luochen gave a rare smile. Little Jiao is still so naughty. Yuan Ji, naughty? He was clearly wicked. Pavilion Master, Elder Ju was killed by Third Elder. "I'm afraid the Mu family will not let it go," Yuan Ji said. "You're wrong. Mu Zian won't even help that Elder Ju collect his body, let alone admit his identity. With the citizens of the Imperial City as witnesses, Elder Ju is an arsonist. If Mu Zian admitted that Elder Ju was a member of the Mu family, wouldn't this matter become a premeditated plot by the Mu family? Therefore, she could only suffer this loss in silence." Lan Luochen said with a faint smile. Yuan Ji was stunned for a moment. Pavilion Master, that Elder Ju didn't reveal his identity to Yun Chujio from the beginning to the end. How did she guess that he was a member of the Mu family? Thus, she set him up. Lan Luochen looked at him speechlessly. Isn't that simple? Since that person doesn't know Little Jiao, it means that he isn't a member of the Lan family. As long as he isn't from the Lan family, Little Jiao will label him as an arsonist and he will only die. Yuan Ji shook his head. Other things aside, Yun Chujia's brain was really good. This time, Mu Zian was at a disadvantage. At this moment, Mu Zian still didn't know that Elder Ju was dead and was labeled as an arsonist. She was still waiting for Elder Ju to come back with the fire marrow. However, she waited until dawn, but Elder Ju didn't come back. The sound transmission talisman couldn't be sent successfully either. However, Mu Zian felt that Elder Just cultivation was so high that nothing should happen. Moreover, there was still a good show to be performed today. She wanted to make Yun Chujio lose face in front of everyone and let cousin Luo Chen know that only she, Mu Zian, was worthy of him. Chapter 4890 Invitation Card. He Xinjiao returned to the third room amid the praises of the crowd. She wanted to sneak back to her own courtyard, but Lan Dimeo called her to the study room. Tell me, how did you offend that person? Lan Dimeo was not a fool. Although he had been fooled by Hei Shinjo at that time, he knew that he had been used as a knife by this little girl when he calmed down. Hei Shinjo bared her little white teeth. Great uncle, I originally wanted to go out and watch the show, but I was targeted by that person. I didn't know his background at first, but later I found out that he was Mu Xian's man and wanted to kill me. Lan Dimeo frowned. Mu Xian's man? Why did she want to kill you? Lan Dimeo had something to do yesterday and left the residence. He only returned to room 3 in the evening, so he did not know that Lan Luochen had forced his way into the residence. Naturally, he did not know about the entanglement between Lan Luochen and Hei Shinjo. Hei Shinjo sighed. Great uncle, that Lan Luochen once pursued me, but I did not take a liking to him at all. That little bitch Mu Xian likes Lan Luochen, so she treats me as a thorn in her flesh. Sigh, who asked me to be so outstanding? Everyone is crying and shouting to marry me. Being too outstanding is also a kind of trouble. The corner of Lan Dimeo's mouth twitched. This troublemaker was getting more and more shameless. However, Lan Luochen liked her. Was he blind? Lan Dimeo's heart suddenly moved. Previously, his ancestor had already announced that Lan Luochen would become the successor of the next family head. Yet, that Lan Luochen suddenly went to the Chongshao continent. Could it be related to this troublemaker? If Lan Luochen really had feelings for this little girl, it would not be a bad thing to use this matter to stir up the marriage between the eldest and Mu families. Thinking of this, Lan Dimeo did not pursue the matter of Yun Shujo leaving the manor on her own. Instead, he said, actually, that child Lan Luochen is not bad. If the two of you can form a marriage, it can be considered to be even closer. I am happy to see that happen. Great uncle, I have a fiancé. I was born to be his person, and am his ghost if I die. Yun Shujo said seriously. Lan Dimeo did not take her words to heart. The opinions of a little girl were not important. What he needed to weigh now was whether Lan Luochen marrying this troublemaker would be beneficial or detrimental to him. But no matter what, he had to first interfere with the marriage of the Mu family. Thus, he smiled and said, all right, I won't interfere in the affairs of young people. But Lan Luchen's cultivation is the best among the younger generation. If you have anything you don't know, you can ask him. Yun Shujo nodded perfunctorily. She could more or less guess what Lan Dimeo was planning. She returned to her own courtyard and gave the little flame a good scolding. The little flame learned its lesson this time. No matter how Hei Shinjo scolded it, it listened obediently. It was too scary outside. It was better to follow this little girl. It made up its mind to cultivate properly so that it could speak earlier. This way, it could tell the little girl about the evil deeds of that bastard Buddha's candle. Just as Yun Shujo was about to catch up on her sleep, Hong Ling came in with an exquisite invitation card. Yun Shujo took it over curiously. It turned out that it was Mu Xian's invitation card. There was a bunch of scholarly words on it. The gist of it was that she had caused trouble for everyone because of the incident with Lan Luofang, so she wanted to set up a banquet to apologize to everyone. While she was at it, she tried to get in touch with them. Chapter 4891 Jiao Pai Chui Yu Duk Yun Shujo pursed her lips. It was obvious that it was a Hongmen banquet. Moreover, that crazy Lan Luochen was in the main room. She would have to be a fool to go. At this moment, Lan Luofang ran over in a panic. Little Joe, what should we do? My mother said that if I don't go, the Mu family will take the opportunity to cause trouble and insist that I go, but I'm afraid. That Mu Xian definitely doesn't have good intentions, and Lan Luoyen and Lan Luofang will definitely take revenge on me. Can you go with me? Yun Shujo glanced at her. I'm not going. All right, little Joe, just help me once. As long as you go with me, I'll buy all your snacks for this month. What do you want to eat? I'll get Zihua to buy it for you. Lan Luofeng pleaded. TCH. You make it sound like I love snacks. Well, 1 month won't do, 3 months. Lan Luofeng immediately said happily, 3 months it is. Little Jiu, I knew you were the best. I heard that Mu Zian also brought a lot of specialty products from the Mu family. You can try them when the time comes. Yun Shujiu rolled her eyes. I don't care about the stupid specialty that Mu Zian brought. Cough cough, what specialty is it? Lan Luofeng, most of them are pastries and spiritual fruits, but there is a special method to make the most famous roasted skin green feather duck. It is said that this roasted skin green feather duck was raised with many kinds of spiritual herbs, and the method of making it is quite complicated. It is not sold in the world, Lan Luofeng explained. Yun Shujiu could not help but look forward to the banquet that night. Lan Luofeng was under her protection, so she naturally could not ignore it. Besides, Mu Zian looked like a white lotus flower. The target of this banquet should not be Lan Luofeng, but her. If she did not go, she would probably think of other ways to harm her, so she would go and meet this white lotus flower. However, did this white lotus flower not know that her people had become arsonists? Mu Zian really did not know that Elder Ju had become an arsonist even in her dreams. She thought that Elder Ju had left the city to capture the deviant flame or the fire marrow. As for why the voice transmission talisman did not succeed, she guessed that it was because Elder Ju's location did not allow him to use the talisman. Besides, all her attention was on the banquet, so she did not think too much about it. At night, when the time difference was a quarter of an hour, He Xinjiu and Lan Luofeng arrived at the venue of the banquet. They had their own plans. Although Mu Zian was in love with Lan Luochen, they might have a chance. Hence, all of them could not wait to attend the banquet after receiving the invitation. Mu Zian saw Yun Shujiu and Yun Shujiu enter and greeted them with a perfect smile. Sister Luofeng, Sister Yun, you are finally here. You are the main characters of the banquet today. Come, take your seats. Yun Shujiu said with a smile, Sister Zian, I'm here for your Mu family's Jiao Pai Chui Yu duck. You won't be stingy and refuse to let us eat it, right? Mu Zian said with a smile, don't worry. Since I'm hosting the banquet, there will naturally be Jiao Pai Chui Yu duck. If you like it, I'll bring you two when I leave. He Xinjia's smile became even brighter, thank you, Sister Zian. Then I'll accept your offer. Mu Zian nodded with a smile, but she was sneering in her heart. The Mu family's roasted skin green feather duck was not just a delicacy. Since this idiot was willing to eat it, then let her eat it to her heart's content. Chapter 4892. No good banquet. Most of the banquets in the Chongshao continent had a small table for each person, and this was no exception. After Yun Shujiu sat down, she saw that there were already many pastries and spirit fruits on the table. This fellow had never known what was reserved, so she immediately picked up a piece of pastry and ate it. Mu Zian saw that Yun Shujiu had eaten the pastry, and a trace of viciousness flashed in her eyes. If the Mu family's scorched skin green feather duck was eaten alone, it would indeed be a supreme delicacy. However, if it was consumed at the same time with the Mu family's special medicinal powder, it would be a poison that only the Mu family could cure. Moreover, according to the variety of the medicinal powder, the effect would be different. Naturally, she would not be so stupid as to directly poison Yun Shujiu to death. Her purpose today was to make her a fool and let Lan Luochen see what kind of person he liked. A moment later, Lan Luochen arrived. Mu Zian immediately went up to him with affection. Cousin, you're the only one left. Your seat is over here. Lan Luochen saw that his seat was close to Mu Zian and was quite far away from Yun Shujiu's seat. He could not help but frown slightly, but he still took his seat. Mu Zian's heart was filled with joy. She immediately got someone to remove the pastries and spiritual fruits and began to serve the dishes. The dishes were naturally very sumptuous, but the most attractive dish was the burnt skin green feather duck. The red, shiny duck skin was crispy and delicious, and the duck meat inside was delicious and juicy. There was also a faint smell of spiritual herbs, which made people unable to stop eating. Hei Shinjo pulled off a duck leg and began to eat, his mouth full of oil. Seeing this, Mu Zian was both disdainful and proud. This idiot, eat it, eat it. The more you eat, the stronger the effect of the medicine will be. At this moment, Lan Luofang said with a fake smile, Lan Luofang, you accidentally hurt Sister Zian last time. Not only did Sister Zian not argue with you, but she even specially set up a banquet to comfort you. Shouldn't you express something? Lan Luomei and the others agreed, that's right, don't pretend to be mute. Shouldn't you apologize to her? Lan Luofang's face instantly turned red. She knew that this banquet was not that simple. It was clearly Lan Luoyen and Mu Zian who had worked together to set her up, but now they wanted her to apologize in public. It was too much of a bully. However, when she thought of the words that Jia Shi had told her not to cause trouble before she came, she bit her lips and said, I'm sorry. Before she could finish her words, Yun Shujo interrupted her. Didn't Sister Zian say it in the invitation? She caused trouble for everyone. What has it got to do with you? If you apologize, wouldn't you be letting down Sister Zian's painstaking efforts? Sister Zian, am I right? Mu Zian's face stiffened. Of course, the past is the past. There's no need to argue about right and wrong. She was a little suspicious. Logically speaking, the effect of the medicine should have taken effect a long time ago. Why was there nothing wrong with this Yun Shujo? Lan Luoyen immediately sneered and said, Yun Shujo, I wonder if you have made any progress after going to the Zen sect? Don't tell me that you only know how to transform into Goei Batsao. Yun Shujo glanced at Lan Luoyen and said, yes, I only know how to transform into Goei Batsao. Don't you envy me? I envy you. What's there for me to envy with trash like you? Sister Zian, you might not know this, but this Yunshujius natal spiritual beast is a Goei Batsao, and she doesn't even know how to transform into a supplementary spiritual beast. She's simply trash to the extreme, Lan Luoyen said disdainfully. Chapter 4893 was smart and cute. Mu Zian thought that Yun Shujo would be embarrassed and angry after being ridiculed by Lan Luoyen. However, she found that Yun Shujo had been chewing on a duck and didn't seem to take the ridicule to heart. What made her even angrier was that Lan Luochen had been smiling at Yun Shujo and didn't even look at her. The hand under her sleeve tightened and she said with a smile, oh? Sister Yun's natal spiritual beast is actually a Goei Batsao. This is really strange. Sister Yun, I wonder if you can open my eyes? Mu Zian secretly hated in her heart. Although she didn't know what went wrong and the effect of the medicine hadn't taken effect yet, it didn't matter. As long as she released the spiritual beast, she would use her spiritual power. In that case, the effect of the medicine would definitely take effect. Unfortunately, Yun Shujo did not even raise her head and said vaguely, I'm busy. Let's talk about it when there's time. Well, this duck tastes pretty good. Give me 2 more. Mu Zian was furious. She pretended to be a little angry and said, Sister Yun, you're not giving me face. If you don't let me see your spiritual beast, I won't let anyone serve you the duck. Yun Shujo then looked up at Mu Zian and said, my spiritual beast is stupid and stupid. It would be bad if it interferes with the banquet. Guai Chao and her Dantian, who are you calling stupid and stupid? It was obviously smart and cute. Mu Zian thought that Yun Shujo was afraid of embarrassing herself in front of Lan Luochen, so she deliberately found an excuse to decline and said with a smile, it's okay. Just let it out. Yun Shujo spread her hands. This is what you said. If there's anything, don't blame me. As Yun Shujo spoke, she let out a huge purple Goei Batsao. Although Mu Zian had heard about it from Lan Luoyen, she was still stunned when she saw the Goei Batsao in front of her. This Yun Shujo was really not an ordinary good-for-nothing. She actually transformed into such a good-for-nothing spiritual beast. Lan Luchen's eyes were also a little surprised. He remembered that little Nine's spiritual beast was a pig. How did it turn into Goei Batsao? At this moment, the Goei Batsao began to turn into a demon under He Xinjia's instructions. The huge grass leaf easily flipped over the table in front of Lan Luoyan and the others. For a moment, the sound of the dishes breaking and the screams mixed together. Yun Chuzhou spread her hands. I told you not to let her out, didn't I? You didn't believe me. It's not my fault. Mu Zian was so angry that her face turned slightly pale. She had clearly drugged Yun Chuzhia's pastries with a drug that made women fall in love. Why was there nothing abnormal about her? What the hell? According to the original plan, after Yun Chuzhou was poisoned, she would definitely make a fool of herself in front of everyone. This way, even if Lan Luochen didn't say anything, he would still despise that idiot in his heart. But, why was there no reaction at all? Before she left, He Xinjiu said with a smile, Sister Zian, you promised me that you would give me 100 Jiao Pai Chuiyu ducks. You won't go back on your word, right? Mu Zian was furious. Since when did she agree to give her 100 Jiao Pai Chuiyu ducks? Wasn't she afraid of bursting? Sister Yun, I'm really sorry. I only have 5 Jiao Pai Chuiyu ducks left. I'll give them all to you. Mu Zian squeezed out a smile and said. Only 5? All right, 5 then. I'm very easy to talk to, He Xinjiu said in a magnanimous tone. Chapter 4894, White Lotus Flower matched with a psychopath. Mu Zian wished she could strangle He Xinjiu to death, but under everyone's watchful eyes, she could only endure it. She thought to herself, bitch, keep gloating. When Elder Ju returns, I'll find an opportunity to kill you. At this moment, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile, Sister Zian, did you know about the fire in the Imperial City last night? Mu Zian did not know why Yun Chuzhou brought up this matter. She was stunned for a moment before saying, of course I know. Sister Yun, what do you mean by bringing up this matter? The smile on Yun Chuzhia's face became even brighter. It's nothing. It's just that I heard that the arsonist that I killed was a spy sent by our Lan family's sworn enemy. Furthermore, he's an old man. Don't you think he's a slut? He actually dared to come to our imperial city to set fire to it. He's simply overestimating his own capabilities. Mu Zian did not know why, but she felt a little flustered. An old man? Could it be Elder Ju? How was this possible? However, Elder Ju had not returned for the entire night, and the voice transmission talisman had not been sent successfully. Could it really be Elder Ju? Thinking up to this point, Mu Zian no longer had any thoughts of dealing with Yun Chuzhou. With a pale face, she said, Sister Yun, I'm not feeling well. Let's meet again another day. Sister Zian, are you not feeling well? Are you sick? Big cousin, take good care of Sister Zian. You two are a perfect match. He Xinjiu said to Lan Luochen, who had been standing at the side, with a smile. A white lotus flower paired with a psychopath, a perfect match. Even in her dreams, Mu Zian never thought that Yun Chuzhou would say such words. She actually set her up with her cousin? Just as she was in a daze, she heard Lan Luochen say, Little Zhou, you're being naughty again. Men and women can't be intimate. Even if I'm taking care of you, I should be taking care of you. After all, you're the one I like. Many of the people present did not know about the conflict between Yun Chuzhou and Lan Luochen, so after hearing Lan Luchen's words, they immediately started discussing. Oh my god, did I hear wrongly? Could it be that Lan Luochen has his eyes on Yun Chuzhou and not Mu Zian? Of course you didn't hear wrongly. Didn't you see that during the meal, Lan Luchen's gaze was always on Yun Chuzhou? But he didn't even look at Mu Zian. TSK, I thought that Lan Luochen and Mu Zian were a couple, but it turns out that's not the case. Mu Zian's face twisted when she heard everyone's discussion. Yun Shujo saw the hatred in Mu Xian's eyes, and her heart was like a dog that was bawling. Heaven and earth had a conscience. She really wanted to set them up. The two of them were a couple, so they could avoid harming others. What a wonderful thing it was. This guy felt that if he stayed any longer, he would be stabbed like a hedgehog by the hatred in Mu Xian's eyes, so he laughed dryly and said, "Big cousin, I have a fiancé, so you should stay away from me in the future. You should be in love with Sister Xian. You two are a perfect match." After He Xinjiu said that, she dragged Lan Luofeng and ran away. Lan Luochen glanced at the crowd and said indifferently, "Her fiancé is dead, so she is mine. If any of you provoke her in the future, you will be my enemy." After Lan Luochen finished speaking, he turned around and left without even looking at Mu Xian. Mu Xian didn't even notice that her fingernails were embedded into her palm. She originally thought that this banquet would make that bitch embarrassed, but she didn't expect that their relationship would be exposed to the public. It was really hateful. Chapter 48-95 Go Weiba was still useful. Mu Xian steadied her mind and returned to her usual gentle appearance. She smiled faintly and said, "I'm sorry. I didn't arrange things properly today and let everyone down." Lan Luoyen immediately said angrily, "Sister Xian, what does this have to do with you?" It was clearly caused by that Yun Shujo. Ever since that bitch arrived at the Lan family, she hasn't stopped. How detestable. Lan Luomei and the rest also chimed in. They were simply pushing the blame onto Yun Shujo. Lan Luocheng, Lan Luomu, and the rest, however, had a wishful plan in their hearts. Lan Luochen, that idiot, actually abandoned Mu Xian and chose that Yun Shujo. He was simply stupid. However, this was also good. They had a chance. If they could marry Mu Xian, they would have enough strength to kill that Lan Luochen. Hence, they all started to show their hospitality. Although Mu Xian did not like them, she still braced herself to deal with them. If these idiots were used properly, she would not need to personally kill that bitch. After Mu Xian sent everyone away, she quickly sent people to investigate the incident last night. An hour later, a guard reported with a troubled expression, "Miss, there is a corpse hanging on the city wall. It is said that it was the arsonist from last night. Although the person was badly mutilated, judging from his figure and clothes, it should be Elder Ju." Mu Xian immediately fell down on the chair. How was this possible? Putting aside the fact that Elder Ju was not an arsonist, even if there was a misunderstanding, with Elder Ju's cultivation level, how could he be killed so easily? She recalled what Yun Shujo said earlier. Could it be that bitch's doing? She shook her head again. That bitch did not have such strength. It was probably just a coincidence. "Miss, should we retrieve Elder Ju's body and seek an explanation from the Lan family?" the guard asked. Mu Xian shook her head. "Since we have already been identified as the arsonist, not only can we not seek an explanation from the Lan family, we can also not admit that Elder Ju is one of us. Miss, are we just going to let this matter go? The Lan family has gone too far. This time, it was the old mistress of the Lan family who personally invited you over as a guest. Now, not only is there no news of the marriage, but she has also killed Elder Ju. She has completely disregarded the Mu family," the maid Xiao Yu said indignantly. "If he refuses to change his mind, we'll have to do it the hard way. I'll let him kill that bitch with his own hands." On the other side, He Xinjiu pulled Lan Luofeng out of the Lan family's main house and went back to the third house. TSK, that Mu Xian still wanted to poison her? With Go Weiba, there was no poison in this world that she was afraid of. Thinking of this, He Xinjiu felt that Go Weiba was still useful, but this could not cover up the fact that it prevented her from having sex with the gigolo. After Go Weiba sensed He Xinjiu's thoughts, it cursed in its heart, "This woman, pervert, wolf." All day long, it was thinking about that trivial matter. Couldn't it not have sex? Just like Go Weiba, even if it did not have sex, it was still alive and well? If Hei Shinjo knew this fellow's thoughts, she would definitely turn it into a specimen. After Hei Shinjo returned to her room, she washed up briefly, took out D. Baiming's voice transmission talisman and sighed. Gigolo, where are you? Chapter 4896 was heartbroken. Although the people of the Chongshao continent used voice transmission talismans, Yun Chujia's voice transmission talismans could also be used, but the effect was not as good as the voice transmission talismans. Just as Yun Chujio was sighing, the voice transmission talisman in her hand began to tremble. Yun Chujio could not believe her eyes. Could she be hallucinating? How could it be so coincidental? The gigolo had sent a letter at this time? Her little heart pounded violently and she sent her divine sense in with a slight tremble. When she heard the familiar voice, she could not help but feel a lump in her throat. She did not even hear what Di Baiming had said, so she could only listen again. Little Jiu, stay at the Lan family. Don't leave. Remember. Yun Chujio felt that there might be something wrong with her ears. The gigolo was so jealous that he actually told her to stay at the Lan family? Was he sick? She listened to it again and her expression instantly changed. Although Di Baiming seemed to be trying his best to calmly recount these words, she could feel that he was trying his best to suppress some pain. Could it be that something had happened? She calmed herself down and replied, I know. Where are you? What happened? However, this time, the voice transmission talisman did not succeed. Yun Chujia's hands could not help but tremble. She tried again and again but failed. She took out Shue Wuji's voice transmission talisman and asked, Brother Wuji, are you with the gigolo? What happened? She didn't expect that the transmission would be successful this time. On a wasteland in the Chongshao continent, there was a river of blood and corpses everywhere. The heavy smell of blood filled the air. Shue Wuji wiped the blood from his mouth and held a voice transmission talisman in his hand. He looked at Di Baiming, who was almost frozen into an ice sculpture. Little sister Jiu sent it. What should I say? You too. Why did you block the voice transmission talisman? It's not like you don't know little sister Jiu's personality. If she doesn't ask the truth, will she let it go? Di Baiming said with difficulty, little sister Jiu is very smart. If I continue, she will notice that something is wrong. She will definitely run over regardless. You tell her that I have an urgent matter. I went to another continent. Everything is fine. Let her wait for me in peace at the Lan family. Shue Wuji curled his lips. Wait for you at ease? Aren't you afraid that that bastard Lan Luochen will take advantage of little ninth sister? That bastard has always been eyeing little ninth sister covetously. Moreover, right now, she is in the Lan family. She is the safest. I believe in her. Di Baiming had not finished his words when he had already fainted. Shue Wuji took the heavenly ruler that he had obtained from the ancient sword tomb and knocked on the hard ice on Di Baiming's body as he spoke to Infeng. TSK, I didn't expect this expressionless man to be so affectionate. When he said those words just now, how sour was his heart. Infeng was speechless. His Majesty was already in such a state, yet this young master of Wuji still did not forget to ridicule him. However, when he thought of Jin Ji, whom he had not seen for several years, he felt very uncomfortable. He wondered if Jin Ji was waiting for him. Could she have already become someone else's wife? Just thinking about it made his heart ache. When would these days end? Shue Wuji looked at Infeng's resentful look and sighed. Sigh, it had been a long time since he had seen that unfaithful woman, pervert, and wolf. And Roy Air wouldn't have forgotten about his father, right? Chapter 4897. The three most miserable men. Shue Wuji felt that the three of them were most likely the most miserable men in the world. This was all because of that fucking owner of the god and devil temple. He did not know what kind of deep hatred he had with this facial paralysis. He actually chased after him from one continent to another. If this facial paralysis was not a pervert, he would have died a long time ago. As for him, the reason why he had been accompanying Di Biming was naturally because he was a hero who was loyal to the heavens. He could not just watch as the facial paralysis was killed. Cough, cough. He would never admit that he was trying his best to become stronger so that he could see that woman, pervert, and wolf again. Also, his seal should have something to do with the demon race. If he did not follow this facial paralysis to the peak of this world, he would not even have a place to stand on the 3,000 continents, not to mention living a shameless life with women, perverts, and wolves. When Xue Wuji thought of that woman, pervert, and wolf, his face couldn't help but heat up. It wasn't until the voice transmission talisman in his hand trembled again that he remembered that he still hadn't replied to Yun Shuzhou. He picked up the voice transmission talisman and pretended to be relaxed. Little Sister Jiu, that expressionless man has something urgent to do and has gone to another continent. Don't worry, everything is fine. A moment later, Yun Shuzhou sent him another voice transmission talisman. Xue Wuji sent his divine sense in, and Yun Shuzhou's cold laughter came from inside. Brother Wuji, do you think I'm stupid? Tell me, what's going on? Xue Wuji immediately grinned. He finally understood why Di Biming wanted to block the voice transmission talisman. Little Sister Jiu was a shrewd person. This lie could not fool her at all. He thought for a moment and then said, "It's not a big deal. It's just that the cold-faced poison offender did not want you to worry. You also know that the Divine Devil Hall wants to capture you and threaten him. You staying in the Lan family peacefully is the best choice." After a long while, Yun Shuzhou's voice came from the voice transmission talisman again. "Okay, I got it. You guys have to be careful." Xue Wuji was stunned. Little Sister Jiu was actually so easy to talk to. Was it over just like that? He was about to complain to Enfeng when his expression changed. He and Enfeng immediately carried Di Biming and ran into the distance. Xue Wuji smiled bitterly in his heart. It would have been fine if this facial paralysis did not get sick, but this illness of his was going to kill him. He was afraid that he would have to run for his life these days. Almost as soon as the three of them disappeared, hundreds of people rushed to the place where they had stopped and chased after them. On the other side, Yun Shuzhou looked at the voice transmission talisman in her hand and did not move for a long time. She was not a 3-year-old child. Although Xue Wuji said it lightly, she knew that if the situation was not critical, the gigolo would not hide it from her and deliberately ignore her voice transmission talisman. Not only could she not help at all, but she also wanted the gigolo to be distracted by her. However, if there was no lightning strike, she would not be able to quickly increase her spiritual power no matter how anxious she was. This was the two sides of the coin. Although the heavenly thunder spirit route brought her a lot of convenience, it also had many restrictions. The most fatal point was that it caused a thunderstorm. For a moment, Yun Shuzhou's heart was in a mess. Even though she was happy and optimistic, the current situation was bleak. The pretty boy was in a critical situation. Her parents were trapped in the Zen sect. There was even someone behind the Zen sect. Although she could be alive and kicking in the Lan family for the time being, this was because the old fox of the Lan family had other plans for her. Once she was no longer useful, he would probably hand her over to the Divine Devil Hall in exchange for benefits. Chapter 4898. This female devil really knew how to play. Although she was a ghost ancestor and a demon ancestor, those were all matters of her previous life. She was now a trash. Her current spiritual power was only at the 9th layer of the quietness of the soul. She was simply a weakling. The talismans and pills in her hands could only be considered low-grade. Those silly cuties were all very well known, but they were a bunch of good-looking but useless trash. The only decent Dehua was missing, and the newly transformed Gowei Butsao made her even more depressed. Hei Shinjo hugged her knees, thinking about these things in a daze. She felt unprecedentedly lost. How could she break through this layer of darkness? The stupid cuties were connected with Yun Chujia's spiritual sense. They could feel her low mood, and they all became depressed. Of course, Buddha's candle was the only exception. This fellow had signed a contract with Yun Chujio because of the situation. Seeing her low spirits, he was gloating over her misfortune. Damn it. I told you to be so arrogant and shameless in your past life. You finally got your comeuppance, didn't you? Ha ha ha. It was so satisfying. It pretended to comfort her, don't be too discouraged. Who knows when you'll regain the strength of your previous life. After all, you were so awesome in your previous life. The reason it said that was to rub salt on Yun Chujia's wound. However, it made Yun Chujia's eyes light up. Xiao Cho Zhu was right. As long as she could find a way to break the seal in her body, she would be able to solve the big problem. Even if she could not find a way to break the seal, it would be fine if she could recover the memories of her previous life. Perhaps she had hidden some treasures or knew some heaven-defying cultivation method in her previous life. That way, she would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Then, the question came. How could she break the seal in her body or recover her memories? Clown candle, tell me about my past life. Yun Chujio felt that listening more might be helpful in recovering her memories. Buddha's candle did not expect that she would actually lift a stone and hit her own foot. She did not want to say anything, but she was afraid that she would be punished, so she could only say dryly, I've slept for too long, so there's a limit to what I can remember. All I remember is that you came out of nowhere. Once you arrived at the bitter Zen sect, you disliked the name of the bitter Zen sect, so you forcefully erased the word bitter. Those monks tried to reason with you, but you beat them up, and even made them wear women's clothes and sing for you. In the end, you said that their singing wasn't good, so you snatched the dawn bell and the sunset wooden fish. What happened after that? Yun Chujio touched her nose guiltily. Her previous life was really awesome. After that? How would I know what happened after that? You plucked out my candle wick, and I went into hibernation at that time, Buddha's candle said snappily. Hei Shinjo coughed dryly and did not continue to ask Buddha's candle. Instead, she opened the isolation array and released Qi-Ying. Qi-Ying had not been released for a long time. He was on the verge of crying. He saw Buddha's candle floating not far away from him and was dumbfounded. You snatched the Buddha's candle from the Zen sect? Yun Chujio curled her lips. It was it who wanted to follow me. Qi-Ying pursed his lips. He did not believe it. Yun Chujio, when are you going to find me a human body? If you continue to brush me off, I will fight you to the death. Qi-Ying had enough of those stupid and cute bullies. It was worse than death. The wick of the Buddha's candle flickered. Oh my, this rabbit was actually possessed by someone? TSK, this female devil really knew how to play. Chapter 4899 was also initiated by her in her previous life. Yun Chujio did not answer Qi-Ying's question. Instead, she said, tell me about the ghost ancestor. Qi-Ying snapped, how would I know? I'm not someone from 10,000 years ago. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. You told me last time that the gigolo and I had feelings for each other in the Chongshao continent. Could it be that you lied to me before? Qi-Ying choked. I heard about these things from others. It was said that you appeared out of nowhere and acted wantonly in the Chongshao continent. It was simply glorious. Later on, for some unknown reason, your spiritual power was damaged. The forces that you offended all wanted to kill you, but you clung on to the Lord's thigh. Those forces had no choice but to give up. I only know so much. You can believe it or not. Yun Chujio was speechless when she heard that. So in her previous life, she had also taken the initiative to latch onto the leg of a gigolo? Of course, Yun Shujo did not believe that Qi only knew so much. However, she also knew that if she pushed him too hard, this fellow might have a life and death struggle, so she did not continue to ask. However, she did not expect Qi to take the initiative to say, I heard that you guys almost traveled through the entire Chongshao continent back then. If you go out for a walk, you might be able to recover your memories. Yun Shujia's lips curled into a cold smile. Qi had already instigated her to leave the Lan family for the second time. Don't think that she did not know what he was planning. He just wanted her to escape from the Lan family's protection so that she could be captured by the Divine Devil Hall. Thinking of this, Yun Shujo remembered a question that she had overlooked. She suddenly asked, Qi, your Divine Devil Hall's lair is not in the Chongshao continent, right? Or do you mean that you've never been to the so-called lair? I don't understand what you are talking about, Qi said with a twinkle in his eyes. Yun Shujo sneered. She had neglected this problem before. Now that she thought about it, if the Divine Devil Hall's lair was in the Chongshao continent, why would they be afraid of the Zen sect and the Lan family? They would have taken her away long ago. Moreover, it seemed that Qi Ying's status in the Divine Devil Hall was not that great. Although he was a purple-masked man, he was probably one of those who had been ostracized. Otherwise, he would not have been tricked into staying in the 10,000 Ghost Cave for more than 10 years. Yun Shujo blinked her eyes and said with a sneer, Brother Qi, I actually quite sympathize with you. When Qi heard the words, Brother Qi, he could not help but shudder. This darn girl must be up to something again. What do you sympathize with me for? Don't look at me now that I've fallen into your hands. HMPH, it's not certain who will be the victor in the future. Qi said with a stern expression, Nonsense, nonsense. I'm a dignified purple-masked man, who dares to ostracize me? If you weren't ostracized, why would it be your turn to go to the ghost region for such a difficult task? Don't you know what kind of days you're living in the Myriad Ghosts Cave? Perhaps your body has already been destroyed by someone. They have no intention of letting you come back at all. Yun Shujo gloated. Qi Ying's pair of rabbit eyes became even redder. Impossible. We are all working for the master. Even if there are some disagreements, they wouldn't do this. Alright, since you are lying to yourself, then just pretend that I didn't say anything. Don't worry, I always keep my word. When the time is right, I will naturally help you find a human body and set you free, Yun Shujo said with a smile. Buddha's candle, who was at the side, cursed in his heart. You keep your word? Liar. Chapter 4900. Rising anger. Qi was distracted by Yun Shujia's words, so he ignored Yun Shujia's words. Yun Shujo pursed her lips. It seemed like she was right. Qi must have been ostracized in the Divine Devil Hall. As long as she simmered him down, she would bring him over sooner or later. Yun Shujo put Qi back into her spirit beast pouch and sighed. It seemed like there was no quick fix. Fortunately, Mount Meru would be struck by lightning again in half a month. She would think of a way to absorb more lightning then. That night, Hei Shinjo tossed and turned. She only fell asleep in a daze when it was almost dawn. Hong Ling saw that she would be late for class if she didn't wake Hei Shinjo up, so she summoned her courage to wake Yun Shujo up. Hei Xinjia's face was so gloomy that it was frightening. Hong Ling didn't even dare to breathe. She had seen people who were angry when they woke up, but her miss was getting more and more angry when she woke up. When Lan Luofang came over and saw Hei Shinjo like this, she shrank her neck and did not dare to say anything. The two of them went to the training hall of the ancestral residence in silence. Yun Shujo was sleeping soundly on the table. Guest Elder Shi coughed a few times, but Hei Shinjo did not respond. Guest Elder Shi said angrily, Yun Shujo, come to the front. Lan Luofang quickly and carefully woke Hei Shinjo up. Little Joe, Mr. Shi wants you to come to the front. Hei Shinjo walked to the front with a gloomy face. When Kusur saw her gloomy face, he could not help but get even angrier. Well, he actually blamed him for delaying her sleep? This was too outrageous. Yun Shujo, more than a month has passed in the blink of an eye. How's the transformation of your auxiliary spiritual beast? Show it to me. Kusur said with a gloomy face. Although Yun Shujo was in a bad mood, she would not vent her anger on Mr. Shi. To be honest, Mr. Shi was not bad, but he was a little rigid. She agreed and began to gesture. She could gesture for a long time, but nothing came out. Mr. Shi became even angrier when he saw this. Yun Shujo, have you been slacking off? Otherwise, even if you can't successfully transform, you should at least improve. I'll give you another chance. If you still can't transform into a supplementary spirit beast half a month later, I can only report it to the old ancestor truthfully. Yun Shuji's little heart even fluttered a little when she heard the first part of the sentence, but when she heard the last part, she immediately put her heart back into her stomach. If you're willing to tell me, then so be it. It's not like that old fox doesn't know about her. Seeing that Yun Shujo did not seem to care, Guest Elder Shi added, after class, go and cut down an immortal tree. Guest Elder Shi waved his hand and chased this fellow back to his seat. He felt that if he continued talking, he would die of anger. After class, Hei Shinjo did not go and cut down the immortal tree. Instead, she continued to lie on the table and sleep soundly. Lan Luofang could only watch from the side bitterly. Seeing this, Lan Luoyen and the others started to ridicule her. What a pig. She only knows how to eat and sleep all day long. With her current state, she can't even compare to Sister Xian's finger. Exactly. Sister Xian is at the 6th level of the extreme spiritual stage. She is only at the 9th level of the Nirvana stage, not to mention her family background. She actually dares to snatch a man from Sister Xian. She really overestimates herself. Maybe she used some unspeakable means to seduce Lan Luochen. How shameless. While they were talking happily, they suddenly shivered because they felt a thick killing intent. Chapter 4901 was too brutal. Lan Luofang felt a shadow flash by her side, and then she heard the screams of Lan Luofang and the others. She focused her eyes and saw that Yun Shujo was holding Lan Luoyen in her left hand and Lan Luomei in her right hand. It was as if she was clapping her hands, knocking the two of them together. Yes, face to face. In a moment, the bridge of Lan Luoyen and Lan Luomei's noses were broken. Their faces were covered in blood, and their shrill screams made people's hair stand on end. Yun Shujo frowned and threw her hands. Lan Luoyen and Lan Luomei crashed into the wall and passed out. Whoever disturbs my sleep again will end up like them. Hei Shinjo went back to her seat and fell asleep again. Everyone looked at each other. They were too fucking brutal. In the blink of an eye, Lan Luoyen and Lan Luomei were caught by her. Moreover, Lan Luoyen and Lan Luomei's cultivation was higher than hers. How did she do it? Everyone had different feelings, but no one dared to provoke Yun Shujo. Only a few people who were close to Lan Luoyen carried her and Lan Luomei out of the training hall. Lan Luofang, on the other hand, was guarding Yun Shujo by the side. She was glad that she did not provoke this fiend in the morning. Her morning anger was too scary. Hei Shinjo slept until evening before she opened her eyes and stretched. Lan Luofang saw that she had returned to her usual appearance and said, "Little Jo, you're so scary when you wake up. You're like a completely different person." Yun Shuji's stretching movements slowed down. She recalled what had happened before. Although her memory was still there, it was a little blurry. It seemed to be similar to how she had unsealed the seal after being strongly stimulated in the past. Could it be that this lack of sleep could also stimulate her potential? If that was really the case, this was a good idea. Seeing that Yun Shujo did not reply, Lan Luofang continued to say, Mr. Shi is punishing you to cut down an immortal tree. Let's go, I'll go with you. Yun Shujo nodded and absent-mindedly followed Lan Luofang to the spot where the immortal tree was cut down. Hei Shinjo had the experience from last time. A moment later, she had cut down an undying wood, and in a blink of an eye, she had cut down 3 more in succession. Lan Luofang looked baffled. Little Joe, Mr. Shi only punished you to cut down 1 tree. Why did you cut down so many trees? Save them for later, in case I have to come back again. This is called being prepared, Hei Shinjo said with a smile. The guard guarding the immortal wood, after Hei Shinjo received the wooden token, the 2 of them walked back while chatting and laughing. Lan Luofang cursed in her heart. Little Jiao was like a completely different person. She was like a god of death before, but now she was laughing and laughing. Could it be that she had some kind of disease? The 2 of them walked for some distance, but they were stopped by a group of people. Lan Luoyan's face was bandaged like a pig's head. She gnashed her teeth and said, Yun Shujo, you hit me, are you going to let it go just like that? I'd rather be punished, and I'll kill you today. All of you, attack. Leave Lan Luofang alive and kill this Yun Shujo. Lan Luofang's expression changed. This Lan Luoyan was clearly completely angered by little Jiao. Otherwise, she wouldn't have used such a desperate method. Just as Yun Shujo was about to let them taste the chili noodles, she heard someone say softly, Sister Luoyan, quickly stop. Following the voice, a group of people walked over from afar. The leader was Mu Zian. Chapter 4902. You are not thin-skinned. When Lan Luoyan saw that it was Mu Zian, she could not help but cry and said, Sister Zian, this bitch beat me up for no reason. I'm really angry. Sister Yun has always been naughty. I'll let her apologize to you. Mu Zian comforted her. Sister Yun, give me some thin-skinned face and apologize to Sister Luoyan immediately. Then this matter will be over. How about it? Mu Zian looked at Yun Shujo and said with a faint smile. Yun Shujo curled the corners of her lips. You are not a face, hee hee. Mu Zian was stunned at first, then she became angry out of embarrassment. If she said that she was not a face, then was she mocking her for being thick-skinned? This damn bitch. Sister Yun, I was kind enough to mediate for you. It's fine if you don't appreciate my kindness. But why did you hurl such hurtful words at me? Mu Zian said with a tone that was just right. She glanced into the distance. She had seen cousin Luochen earlier, so he must be able to hear their conversation. Then, she would show him what kind of person he liked. Yun Shujo. Sister Zian, I said that you are not a person with a thin face. I meant that you have a lot of face. How could you hurtful words at me? Yun Shujo looked innocent. You. Mu Zian was so angry that she choked. This bitch was really sharp-tongued. Yun Shujia's smile became even brighter. She glanced at Lan Luoyan and said, forget it. Since Sister Zian has such a lot of face, I won't argue with her. Sister Luofang, let's go. Yun Shujo dragged Lan Luofang and was about to leave. Just as Lan Luofang was about to go forward, she was stopped by Mu Zian with her eyes. She could only watch as Yun Shujo and Lan Luofang left. Lan Luoyan was furious, but she did not dare to lash out at Mu Zian. Mu Zian said gently, Sister Luoyan, you are sisters, why do you have to make things so difficult? Besides, cousin said that Sister Yun is his person, so you should not find trouble with her. Her words were naturally meant for Lan Luochen, who was not far away. With this comparison, he would know who was more suitable to be his wife. However, when she looked out of the corner of her eye, Lan Luchen's shadow was nowhere to be seen. He must have gone to chase after Yun Shujo. Mu Zian's hands were tightly clasped together as she gritted her teeth. Good, very good. Then, she would think of a way to kill that slut. She walked up to Lan Luoyan and lowered her voice as she said, Sister Luo Yen, you want to kill Yun Chujiu in such a high-profile manner. Let's not talk about whether you will be punished or not. There are people coming and going here, and it's not far from the third concubine. You can't kill her at all. Then let's just let it go. That bitch has repeatedly humiliated me. I really can't take this lying down. Lan Luoyen said through gritted teeth. Lan Luoyen's eyes lit up. If she could do this, it would be for the best. Not only could she take revenge, but she could also be in the limelight. It couldn't be better. She was about to ask what method to use, but Mu Zian gave her a look. The two of them immediately brought people back to the main room to discuss. On the other side, Yun Chujiu and Lan Luofang didn't walk far before Lan Luochen chased after them. Little Jiu, I have something important to tell you. Lan Luochen said with a serious expression. What is it? I'm in a hurry to go back and have dinner. If you have something to say it quickly. If you have something to say it quickly. He Xingjiu said in a bad mood. Chapter 4903, Yuan Ji. Lan Luchen's expression froze for a moment, then he said, I'm going to leave for a period of time, but I'll leave Yuan Ji behind to protect you. You have to be careful. Yun Chujiu's eyes suddenly lit up. You're going to leave? Are you never coming back? Lan Luchen's heart ached. Did she really not want to see him? Yun Chujiu saw that his expression was dark and gloomy. She thought to herself not to anger him. It would be bad if he didn't leave, so she said, I mean, how long are you going to be gone? Also, Yuan Ji doesn't need to stay for me. It's better to follow and protect you. I can protect myself. When Lan Luochen heard this, a faint smile appeared on his face. I'll be back soon. At most 3 months, at least 1 month. I have other people to protect me. Yuan Ji will stay here to protect you. Little Jiu, when I come back, I'll ask our ancestor to agree to our marriage. Yun Chujiu interrupted impatiently, I'm still waiting to go back for dinner. I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. Big cousin, have a safe trip. Goodbye. He Xingjiu dragged the dazed Lan Luofang and ran away. Lan Luochen was sad, helpless, and reluctant. In the end, he sighed. Yuan Ji, who was standing at the side, felt as if his heart was broken. He tried to hold it in, but he still couldn't hold it in. Pavilion Master, you'd better let me go with you. Yun Chujiu was in the Lan family. As long as she didn't do anything evil, there was no danger. Moreover, she has a belly full of evil water. It might not be anyone's bad luck. Lan Luochen glanced at him. Go to the third room now to look for little Jiu. You must stay by her side to protect her. If anything happens to little Jiu, it'll take your life. After saying this, Lan Luochen turned around and left. Yuan Ji was so angry that he was twitching. He was considered to have a good temper, but he was simply about to be angered to the point of collapse by the pavilion master. What was so good about that damned girl that she actually caused him to be so deranged? Yuan Ji gritted his teeth, but he still accepted his fate and went to the third room. I request to see Yun Chu, young mistress, Yuan Ji said to the guard guarding the door. The guard did not dare to be negligent and immediately reported it to Yun Chujiu. Yuan Ji was so angry that he gritted his teeth. However, when he recalled what Lan Luochen said before he left, he had no choice but to give the guard some spirit stones and let him report back. Unfortunately, the reply he received was still that Miss didn't have time to see him. Yuan Ji was both angry and anxious. He finally thought of an idea. He gritted his teeth and said, Tell Miss that I owed her 10,000 high-grade spirit stones back then. This time, I'm here to return the money. After a while, the guard replied, Miss Yuan said that you owe her 100,000 high-grade spiritual stones. Chapter 4904 was her, it was her, it was her. Yuan Ji snorted coldly and cursed in his heart. Who was the main culprit that he had become like this? It was her, it was her, it was her. If it wasn't for her turning the wise pavilion master into a madman, would he need to put in so much effort? Yun Shujiu saw that Yuan Ji didn't say anything and continued, since we have the same goal, then we are comrades to a certain extent, so you don't have to be so hostile to me. Besides, if you put aside the fact that you're Lan Luchen's subordinate, it's not a problem for me to treat him like this. It's his wishful thinking and forcing others to do so. What I'm doing is just to protect myself. Yuan Ji snorted again, but he still didn't say anything. If I can get Lan Luochen to get rid of his obsession, it would be a great thing for me and you, so I hope you can cooperate with me. Before Yun Shujiu could finish her sentence, Yuan Ji interrupted her. My mission is to protect you temporarily. I'm not interested in anything else. After Yuan Ji finished speaking, he found an empty room and went in. Apparently, he had no intention of continuing the conversation with Yun Shujiu. Hei Xinjiu pursed her lips. Little girl, let's wait and see. In the Lan family's ancestral house, in the study room of the Lan family's ancestor, an old man wearing a mask asked in puzzlement, Master, why did you ask someone to bring Mu Zian here? Master, you asked someone to bring Mu Zian here so that she could cultivate a relationship with young Master Luochen. Why did you send young Master Luochen away again? The Lan family's patriarch took a sip of tea and then said, we can't delay Luochen's injury any longer. He can completely recover there. Besides, with him around, that girl of the Mu family can't use any means to deal with that troublemaker. Only by sending him away can we have a good show. The old man, was Master having a stroke? The old ancestor of the Lan family continued, besides, after the incident in the Zen sect, I found out that that troublemaker has many secrets. However, this girl is too shrewd. Only by putting her in danger can her true strength be revealed. If we don't send the Fallout Kid away, how can we force her to reveal her true strength? The old man asked with some worry, however, what about the Divine Devil Hall? They have already urged you twice. If you don't hand Yun Shujiu over to them, I'm afraid they will fall out with each other. The Lan family's patriarch snorted coldly, they are just shouting happily. With the support of the Zen sect, they don't dare to openly fall out with each other. Moreover, according to the investigation, most of the people of the Divine Devil Hall have gathered in the wilderness recently. They can't take care of this little girl at the moment. Who exactly is he? Why did the Divine Devil Hall go through so much trouble to kill him? The old ancestor of the Lan family shook his head. The Divine Devil Hall has always been secretive. The reason why they cooperated with them last time was because their conditions were generous enough. I always feel that there should be a big secret hidden in this. That's why I want to keep that troublemaker. Let's wait and see. There's no rush. When the Lan family's ancestor said this, he suddenly frowned. The old man immediately nodded and his figure flashed and he had already arrived outside the study. However, he looked around and did not find any suspicious people. He only saw a few long-winged fireflies that were commonly seen in the heavy cloud continent on the tree in the courtyard. Although there were beast controllers in the heavy cloud continent, these long-winged fireflies had a strong temperament. No one had ever successfully tamed them. Therefore, the old man only took a few glances before turning around and entering the study. Chapter 4905. She was going to help the gigolo, Master. There is nothing unusual, the old man said respectfully. The Lan family's ancestor nodded. His courtyard was heavily guarded, so he must have been suspicious. The two chatted for a while, and then the old man left. At the same time, one of the long-winged fireflies on the tree flapped its wings and left the ancestral house, flying to Hei Xinjia's house. This long-winged firefly was caught by Yun Shujiu a few days ago, so she did not have much hope. After all, the Lan family's ancestors' cultivation was too strong. She did not expect to really get useful information this time. When Hei Shinjo heard the news it sent back, her eyes flashed. Wild Hope Wilderness? It seemed that the gigolo and the others were trapped there. She recalled the records about the Wild Hope Wilderness that she had read in the library and made a decision. She wanted to go to the Wild Hope Wilderness to help the pretty boy and the rest. If it were any other place, she would not go and cause trouble. But the Wild Hope Wilderness, the scum of the Divine Devil Hall, you deserve your bad luck. However, she had to wait for an opportunity to leave the Lan family. This opportunity was the heavenly thunder that would strike Mount Sumru in 10 days. At that time, not only would she be able to increase her spiritual power, she could also take advantage of this opportunity to escape from the Lan family surveillance. Of course, after helping the pretty boy and the others escape, she still had to return to the Lan family. After all, this place was safer than other places. The main purpose of her trip this time was also to help the pretty boy treat the cold poison. At the very least, her blood was still effective against the cold poison in his body. At the very least, she could even kiss him on the lips. Perhaps she could let the Guai Chao seduce some of the cold poison in his body. After Yun Shujo made up her mind, she felt that the depression she had been feeling for the past few days had dissipated a lot and she fell asleep soundly. In the next few days, everything went as usual. Lan Luoyen did not find trouble with Yun Shujo again, and the Lan family's sect competition had begun again. Yun Shujo was not interested in this competition at all. She was just waiting for the heavenly thunder to come so that she could take the opportunity to go to the wilderness. She was not interested, but there were people who were interested in her. Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu had been defeated by her last time, and they were both trying their best to take revenge. There was also Lan Luoji. Last time, he was tricked by her with 50 spiritual stones. He hated her to death. As for Lan Luoyen, she wanted to kill him. Therefore, after Elder Ning announced the start of the competition, the 4 of them challenged Yun Shujo. The problem was that one person could only fight 2 people. Only 2 of the 4 people had the chance to fight Yun Shujo. The crowd was so angry that their noses almost went crooked. It was the first time they heard of a competition. At this moment, Mu Zian said gently, "Cousin Luo Cheng, your cultivation level is much higher than Sister Yun's. Let Luo Yen compete with her." When Lan Luocheng heard this, he was immediately overwhelmed by the favor and said, "Since Sister Zian has said so, let's do as you say." Lan Luomu glanced at Lan Luoji, and Lan Luoji tactfully withdrew. He was just a bastard son, how would he dare to go against Lan Luomu? Lan Luoyen was the first to step onto the stage, her face full of pride. She was going to teach this bitch a lesson today, and it was all her own fault. Seeing that Yun Shujo was dawdling for a long time and did not step onto the stage, she said impatiently, "Yun Shujo, come up quickly." Thus, she said, "Lan Luofang, I challenge you." Lan Luofang remembered what Yun Shujo said to her and said indifferently, "I won't accept your challenge. You can find someone else." Lan Luofang was so angry that she almost died. Ever since Lan Luofang followed this Yun Shujo, she became more and more shameless. Lan Luofang said a few harsh words, but Lan Luofang remembered what Yun Shujo said, people were shameless and invincible. She thought that Lan Luofang was just barking like a dog and wouldn't accept the challenge no matter what. In the end, Lan Luoyen had to find someone else to compete. Although she won 2 matches in the end, she was still so depressed that she wanted to vomit blood. Chapter 4907 Fell asleep. Yun Shujo looked at the twisted faces of Mu Zian and Lan Luoyen, and her heart was bursting with joy. These 2 idiots still wanted to scheme against her? In your dreams. However, this guy immediately slapped his thigh. Oh no, she was only focused on teasing Lan Luoyen. She did not go on stage just now, and in the end, she might have to face Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu again. Wasn't she making herself uncomfortable? Although she was not afraid of them, it was a little difficult without exposing the secret. Xiao Hanio's curse could only be used to deal with one person. What about the other person? She suddenly thought of Buddha's candle. In the Zen sect, Buddha's candle could take over another person's body. If it took over Lan Lucheng's or Lan Luma's body, wouldn't everything be fine? This fellow thought again. No, if that was the case, the ancestor of the Lan family would definitely not let her off. She had to think of another way. At this moment, Buddha's candle said weakly, I have to make one thing clear first. The Zen sect has psyche power, and those monks practice Buddhist power, so I can easily take over those monks' bodies. But outside, I probably can't. Yun Chujiu, it was nothing. It was really nothing. She was already used to it. No matter how good a treasure was, it would be useless to her. Although He Xinjiu comforted herself like this, she was still half-dead angry. The strong resentment scared Lan Luofang, who was beside her. Little Jiu, you didn't sleep well yesterday again? He Xinjiu's eyes suddenly lit up. Yes, she could try to wake up angry. Maybe she could kill everyone. It just so happened that there were more people in the family competition this time than last time, so there was no way she could finish the competition in a day. As long as she waited until dawn before sleeping, she could totally use her anger to teach them a lesson. The more she thought about it, the more beautiful she became. She immediately said to Lan Luofang with a smile, Sister Luofang, you are really my little lucky star. Lan Luofang, little Jiu is acting up again, isn't he? Everyone tacitly did not challenge Yun Chujiu again. They wanted to leave her to Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu. Although there was still Lan Luohan in the third branch, everyone did not think highly of him. As time passed, the sky gradually darkened, but the competition was still going on. He Xinjiu yawned as she watched, reminding herself in her heart that she could not sleep. She had to wait until dawn to sleep. This way, she would have the energy to clean up these dregs when she woke up. However, this guy still fell asleep after watching. Lan Luofang was speechless. How big-hearted was this guy? She looked at the fight on the spectator stand in a daze, then looked at the people around her. She asked Lan Luofang in a daze, I fell asleep last night? Why didn't you wake me up? Lan Luofang, who would dare to scream when you woke up? He Xinjiu wanted to cry, but no tears came out. It's over, why did she fall asleep? At this moment, Lan Luomu sneered and said, Yun Chujiu, only Lan Luocheng and I have a chance to challenge you now. Do you want to fight me or Lan Luocheng first? Yun Chujiu, I admit defeat. Lan Luomu sneered and said, admit defeat? We don't agree with you admitting defeat. You have to fight with us. Yun Chujiu wanted to fight with them, but she found that the sky had begun to darken. She looked up and saw a large cloud gathering in the direction of Mount Meru. It was the heavenly lightning. She immediately lost the patience to fight with Lan Luomu and Lan Luocheng. She jumped onto the stage and said, you two trash, come at me together. Chapter 4908, Old Fox. Get out here. The moment Yun Chujiu's words left her mouth, the entire place fell silent and burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, what a joke. Is this Yun Chujiu crazy? Her. 1 versus 2. Don't you know how she won last time? She's overestimating herself. That's right. She probably thinks that she's going to lose no matter what, which is why she said that. I think she's just going through the motions. She'll have to admit defeat after a few moves. What you said makes sense. I think that's also true. Even if the sun rises from the west, it's impossible for her to defeat Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu by herself. Yun Chujiu heard everyone's discussion and cursed in her heart. Damn it, why does everyone know her so well? She just planned to go up and randomly make a few moves before rushing to Mount Meru. The heavenly lightning didn't wait for anyone. Lan Luomu pursed his lips. Yun Shujiao was dreaming. He and Lan Luocheng had already reached an agreement. She wanted to give up after a few gestures. Impossible. The two of them together with the 4 spiritual beasts could completely block her escape route. She would not even have the chance to jump off the stage. Yun Shujiao naturally knew that Lan Luomu and Lan Luocheng would not let her give up easily. However, she had the talisman and chili noodles in her hands. It was very easy for her to escape and jump off the stage. This fellow was confident, so he jumped onto the stage with a smile. Just as the 3 of them were about to fight, Elder Ning called Yun Shujiao to the side and said in a voice that only the 2 of them could hear, "Miss Cousin, the old ancestor just sent a message saying that if you can't win this round, he will send someone to send you to young Master Luochen after the competition and let you cultivate with him." Yun Shujiao, what kind of rotten idea is this old fox having? Yun Shujiao gritted her teeth. Anyway, she still had talismans and poison. If she planned carefully, she should be able to take care of these 2 dregs. At this moment, Elder Ning raised his voice and said, "In this round, the 3 of you are forbidden to use talismans and poison. Yes, chili and pepper noodles are also forbidden. Alright, we can begin." Yun Shujiao, old fox. Get out here. I'm going to kill you. It was clearly only during the family competition that talismans and poison were prohibited. Why was this small competition not allowed to be used? This old fox was doing it on purpose. Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu heard this and looked at each other. They could see the killing intent in each other's eyes. Yun Shujiao, you're dead for sure. At this moment, Yun Shujia's heart was like a dog that was bickering. If she did not have the talismans and poison, it would not be too difficult for her to find an opportunity to jump off the competition stage. However, that damned old fox insisted that she win first place. This was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Most importantly, she did not have the time to waste with these 2 dregs. If Wu Yun took advantage of this moment to escape, she would have nowhere to cry. The only reliable method she had now was the curse of the Xiao Hanio. However, she only had 1 chance every day, yet she was facing 2 people. It was too difficult. Just as Yun Shujiao was worrying, Lan Luomu and Lan Luocheng had already made their move. The 2 of them knew that Yun Shujiao was full of bad intentions, so they immediately launched their killing moves. Their natal spirit beasts and auxiliary spirit beasts all materialized, and the 2 of them also attacked Yun Shujiao at the same time. Yun Shujiao did not have time to think too much. She hurriedly shot out several small purple needles, and as she dodged, she summoned Sheep Slut No. 1 to release her sword intent. Chapter 4909, Yuan Ji 4 Spirit Beasts, Lan Luomu, and Lan Luocheng trapped Yun Shujiao, while Yun Shujiao was running for her life. Most of the people below the stage looked like they were watching a good show. As for Mu Zian and the others, they were gloating. After this competition, even if Yun Shujiao didn't die, she would be skinned alive. Anyone with eyes could see that Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu didn't intend to give her a chance to admit defeat. Perhaps Yun Shujiao would die on the competition stage soon. Lan Luoyen was secretly resentful. This bitch cheated her of 100,000 spirit stones, but so what? She was dead for sure. Of course, there were also a few people who were worried about Yun Shujiao, such as Lan Luofang and Lan Dimeo. Lan Luofang was truly worried about Yun Shujia's safety, while Lan Dimeo was more calculating about benefits. He calculated in his heart that if it really did not work, he would have to save her in the end. No matter what, he had to keep her alive. However, he could only act when the situation was critical. Otherwise, the big branch and the second branch would be dissatisfied. In the corner, there was another person who had been paying attention to the situation on the stage. This person was Yuan Ji. Yuan Ji's heart was eager for Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu to kill Yun Chuzhou. This way, their pavilion master wouldn't have to go crazy over this stinky girl. However, when he thought about the fact that if this stinky girl died, there was an 80% chance that he wouldn't be able to survive, he was extremely conflicted. Should he save her or not? At this moment, on the stage, Yun Chuzhou was already in a perilous situation. If not for her extremely agile movements and the 3 layers of sword intent, she would have died long ago. Even so, she was forced to the point of not being able to retaliate. She could only passively dodge. Yun Chuzhou saw that the sky was getting darker and darker. She was very anxious. How could she quickly defeat these 2 dregs? Should she use a small flame? However, this way, she would be suspected of the fire in the imperial city. It was too risky. At this moment, He Xinjiu missed De Hua very much. If she had De Hua, she would at least have some time to catch her breath. The Guai Chao in her dantian waved its leaves desperately. In her heart, she cried out silently, "Let me go, let me go, let me go." Once the Gowei Batsao appeared, who could compete with it? Unfortunately, He Xinjiu had never considered the Gowei Batsao. It was not like she did not let it go last time, but what happened in the end? Being chased around by other people's spiritual beasts, it was simply too weak. He Xinjiu thought of her jinx skill again, desperately shouting in her heart, "Hurry up and use heavenly lightning to chop these 2 bastards to death." However, it was useless. These skills of hers were always active and sometimes not. It was simply too fucking conniving. If it weren't for the conditions that didn't allow it, she would have taken out a piece of Bodhi leaf and played a song to try it out. This guy gritted his teeth. Forget it, let's just take out a large kitchen knife and try it out. No matter what, a large kitchen knife should be better than little bitch number 1. Sigh, no matter how many immortal swords there were, they couldn't be compared to a large kitchen knife. When this fellow thought of this, her heart jolted. She seemed to have a skill that she had not used for a long time. That was flying swords. Back then, when she met a strong enemy, she would occasionally use her spiritual sense to control a few flying swords to attack the enemy. The effect was still pretty good. She wondered if the effect would be even more powerful now that she had mastered sword intent. He Xinjiu was now desperate. Moreover, she did not have the time to practice. She simply summoned little slut number 2 to little slut number 9 and floated in midair. Instantly, everyone was stunned. Chapter 49:10, The Forgotten Flying Sword Skill. Oh my god, what? What is Yun Chuzhou doing? If we include the sword in her hand, she can control 9 swords at the same time? TSK, you're thinking too much. She's just a pompous person. It's impossible for her to control 9 swords at the same time. She's just trying to scare people. That's right. It's impossible for her to use the sword in her hand to maintain the sword intent and command the 8 swords at the same time. If you don't believe me, just watch. In a few seconds, those swords will fall to the ground. Everyone shook their heads at Yun Chuzhou's behavior. They felt that she was deliberately mystifying things, because no one had ever done that before. Because no matter how powerful a person's spiritual sense was, it was impossible to control so many swords at the same time, let alone use them in a fight. Yuan Ji had heard that Yun Chuzhou could control many swords at the same time, but he felt that Lan Luochen was exaggerating. After all, in Lan Luochen's eyes, even Yun Chuzhou's eyelashes were good. Moreover, even if she could control multiple swords, it would depend on the level of the opponent. If the opponent was just an ordinary demon beast, perhaps she only needed to control those swords. But now, she was facing Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu. This little trick only made people laugh after a meal. Just as Yuan Ji was thinking, he heard the laughter of the crowd. He looked at the stage and saw the 8 swords that were floating in the air were slapped to the ground by Lan Luocheng and Lan Luma's spiritual beasts. Just as they were about to float, they were slapped down by the spiritual beasts. Lan Luoyen gloated and shouted, "Yun Shujiu, don't embarrass yourself here. How can a good-for-nothing like you command so many swords at the same time? Dream on." Lan Luomei also echoed, "That's right, you don't even understand how to use a sword, and you still want to use a flying sword to hurt people? Are you stupid?" Ha ha ha. Yun Shujiu didn't have the energy to care about their sarcasm. At this moment, she had to use the little bitch number 1 in her hand to protect herself, and on the other hand, she had to mobilize the little bitch number 2 to number 9. "Can you guys fight for me? You are immortal swords, okay? Each and every one of you is drunk, kill them all." The little bitch number 2 to number 9 were also very aggrieved, and it was not their fault. Usually, Hei Xinjiu only used the little bitch number 1, so they had no chance to come out. Besides, it was mainly because of Hei Xinjia's spiritual sense. Her own skills were rusty, so why should she rely on them? Shameless. Hei Xinjiu also knew this. She had not used her skills for a long time, so it was inevitable that she was a little out of practice. Chapter 49:11. Wake up. Due to the speed of the flying swords, Lan Luocheng and Lan Luma's spiritual beasts could not react at all. They allowed the 8 flying swords to stab at Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu. The crowd below the stage cried out in surprise. "Oh my god, what happened? Weren't those flying swords still swaying from side to side just now? How did they become so fast now? Could it be that Yun Shujiu did it on purpose just now? Just to make Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu lower their guard? If that was the case, this Yun Shujiu was too wicked. She was simply too wicked." Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu were fighting with Yun Shujiu. Even in their dreams, they never thought that the 8 flying swords would suddenly explode. They didn't even have the time to raise their spiritual energy shields. They could only try their best to avoid the vital parts of their bodies and hit the flying swords with the wind of their palms. What shocked them was that the flying swords could actually avoid the wind of their palms. How was this possible? Because they were too shocked, their movements were inevitably a little slow. Although they avoided the vital parts, both of them were injured by the flying swords to varying degrees. At this moment, Yun Shujiu had the little black bird curse Lan Luomu, who was closer to the edge of the competition stage. Lan Luma's leg was already stabbed by the flying swords, and after being cursed by the little black bird, he immediately knelt on the ground. Yun Shujiu naturally would not let go of such a good opportunity. She flew up and kicked Lan Luomu off the stage. The people below the stage did not have the time to cry out in surprise when they saw the 8 flying swords flying up and down, separating Lan Luocheng's 2 spiritual beasts from him. Yun Shujiu looked at Lan Luocheng and curled the corners of her lips. Without the spiritual beasts, Lan Luocheng would not be her match at all, not to mention that he had already been stabbed in the right shoulder by the flying swords. If she was not in a hurry to rush to Mount Meru, she would definitely play a good game with him. What a pity. Yun Shujiu shot out several small purple needles at Lan Luocheng. Although the power of these small things was limited, they could divert Lan Luocheng's attention. Lan Luocheng gnashed his teeth in hatred. He really could not understand how Yun Shujiu could control 8 flying swords at the same time. This bitch really deserved to die. Just as he was slightly distracted, a flying sword that was originally blocking the spiritual beast suddenly changed direction and shot towards Lan Luocheng's back. Lan Luocheng sensed the movement behind him and subconsciously dodged to the side. Yun Shujiu had already predicted his reaction. She calmly raised her sword and stabbed towards Lan Luocheng's front. Lan Luocheng had no choice but to dodge again, but he forgot that Yun Shujiu had deliberately lured him to the edge of the competition stage. He slipped and fell directly below the competition stage. Yun Shujo put away her flying sword and looked at Elder Ning, who was already in a daze. She curled the corners of her lips. Elder Ning, wake up. This is the competition stage. Elder Ning, wake up. He wasn't sleeping. He was scared, okay? He originally thought that the ancestor was deliberately messing with Yun Shujo. With her cultivation, how could she defeat Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu in a 1 versus 2 battle? He didn't expect that this little girl could command 8 flying swords at the same time. This was too unbelievable. Although she had taken the advantage of surprise, if Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu had been prepared, she might not have won, but this was enough to surprise people. No wonder the old ancestor would make such a request. It seemed that the old ancestor had a sharp eye. Elder Ning calmed down a little and then said in a clear voice, "This round, the 3 branches, Yun Shujo wins." Chapter 49:12 was that he was blind. The audience below the stage were all dumbstruck. At this moment, they had also regained their senses. Oh my god, Yun Shujo actually won? Commanding 8 flying swords at the same time, no, 9. Don't forget that she still had one in her hands. This was too unbelievable. Mu Xian's expression was very ugly. She had underestimated this slut. Her spiritual sense was actually so strong. So what? In front of her, this little bitch was just an ant. If she wasn't afraid that her cousin would be unhappy, she could kill her with just a finger. Yuan Ji, who was in the corner, decided to take back his words. It wasn't that their pavilion master was blind, it was that he was blind. He didn't expect this troublemaker to have some real ability other than his mouth. Just as Yuan Ji was thinking about it, he saw Yun Shujo jump down from the competition stage. She held her stomach and said, make way, I'm in a hurry to go to the toilet." Lan Dimeo wanted to praise her, but when he saw this, the corner of his mouth twitched, and he had no choice but to let her leave. Yuan Ji watched Yun Shujo run away and could only wait at the same place. He could not follow her to the female toilet, right? However, after a long while, Yun Shujo did not return. At this time, the sky had completely darkened. He pondered for a moment and guessed that the troublemaker had gone straight to the 3rd room. However, when he returned to Yun Shujia's courtyard, he found that Yun Shujo had not returned. Where had she gone? Hei Shinjo naturally rushed to Mount Meru in a hurry. When they left the city, the guards at the city gate saw Hei Shinjo heading in the direction of Mount Meru. They were puzzled. Could it be that Miss Yun was going to have another drill? This time, they had to be alert at night so as not to disappoint Miss Yun. Yun Shujo did not know what the guards were thinking. She flew towards Mount Meru on her flying spirit tool. This fellow was burning with anxiety, afraid that she would not be able to make it in time to be struck. This fellow sighed. She had brought this flying spirit tool from the sky-high continent. Its speed could not be compared to the flying spirit tool of the Lan family's ancestor. If there was a chance, she would have to buy a few high-quality flying spirit tools from the Qing family in the Valley of Fog. When she was close to the edge of Mount Meru, Yun Shujo remembered that Mount Meru was forbidden from flying. She quickly directed the flying spirit tool to land on the ground and ran towards the depths of Mount Meru. While running, she observed the gathering dark clouds in the sky and was delighted. This time, it was a young girl. The dark cloud from last time was too sneaky. It had run away when she saw Wu Yun at the Zen sect, which had caused her to miss even a bolt of lightning, let alone a cloud wing. Thinking of this, Hei Shinjo said arrogantly to Wu Yun in the sky, "Hey, that bastard in the sky, try to strike me if you have the ability." When Wu Yun in the sky heard the provocation, he felt that this little girl below was an idiot. She actually dared to provoke Wu Yun? Was she crazy? It could casually strike a few heavenly lightning bolts and turn her into ashes. Then, after a dozen bolts of lightning, the little girl was still alive and kicking, and her attitude became even more arrogant. "Hey, how dare a piece of trash like you float in the sky? You should find a hole to hide in, aren't you too shameless? TSK, who gave you the courage? How dare such a weak piece of trash come out of a cloud? Aren't you afraid of being treated like cotton candy?" Chapter 49:13. Another cloud wing was in his hands. Wu Yun was so angry that he was shivering. Lightning struck down one after another, but it did not do anything to He Xinjiu even after more than 2 hours. Wu Yun thought for a moment. The mission that he came here for this time was not this stupid girl. It was more important to complete the mission first. Just when he was about to give up, he heard Yun Shujiu exclaim, "Ouch! I can't take it anymore. I can't hold on any longer. If you strike me 10 more times, I'll definitely die." Wu Yun was immediately overjoyed and immediately struck He Xinjiu. After repeating this over and over again, when Wu Yun regained his senses, the heavenly lightning that he carried had already been used up, but the wretched girl below was completely unharmed. That was not right. Her hair had already been chopped off. He Xinjiu was overjoyed. Wu Yun was so gullible. It would be even more perfect if she took out another cloud wing. The guy took out a porcelain bottle in pain. Inside was the blood that she had drained in advance to treat Di Biming's cold poison. A sinister smile appeared on her lips. As long as her blood was on the cloud wing would break away from Wu Yun's body and become hers. It was so wonderful. This fellow hid the porcelain bottle in his sleeve, clutched his chest, and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he gnashed his teeth and said, "Wang Ba Yun, just you wait. As long as I don't die, I'm not done with you. Don't think that I don't know that your lightning power has almost been used up. Unless you land very low, there's nothing you can do to me. It's never too late for little Jiu to take revenge. Don't let me see you again, or I'll definitely kill you." Wu Yun in the sky almost laughed like a pig. Is this little girl a fool? She's simply helping it out. What an idiot. Wu Yun immediately descended lower and lower. When it was about 30 feet away from Yun Shujiu suddenly jumped up and threw the fresh blood in the porcelain bottle towards Wu Yun. Wu Yun was shocked and subconsciously rushed to fly higher. Then, it tragically saw one of its cloud wings, flying towards Yun Shujiu, and it was the kind that couldn't wait. Wu Yun was instantly dumbfounded. What was going on? That was its cloud wings. Why did it feel that the stinky girl was its mother? Oh God! Was he hallucinating? Why did she have a small dark cloud? Although this small dark cloud's level was very low, how could a human control Wu Yun? One had to know that other than Tian Dao, no one could control Wu Yun. This was too frightening. Wu Yun did not have time to think about it carefully. It was too scary. It would never come here again. No wonder number 250 did not come here previously. He even said that he would bring Xian Yun along. Bah! He had tricked her. He Xinjiu saw that Wu Yun was like a wild horse that had gone off the reins. She did not look back and did not chase after him. After a while, Yun Shujiu heard the sound of thunder. She did not pay too much attention to it. It was probably that silly cloud that had randomly struck her. She rolled her eyes, changed out of her clothes, and threw them into a deep pit. Then, she took a disguise pill and headed in the opposite direction of the imperial city. Because her flying spirit tool was brought from the towering sky continent, she was afraid that it would be too eye-catching. Therefore, she went to the nearest city and bought a new flying spirit tool. After changing her appearance again, she headed towards the wilderness. "Little Gigolo, your little cutie is here." Chapter 49-14 Struck by lightning. He Shinjo was happy, but Yuan Ji was miserable. He waited in the third room for quite a while, but Yun Shujo did not return. He suddenly felt that something was not right. He hurriedly sent people to investigate. After learning that Yun Shujo had gone to Mount Meru, he also rushed to Mount Meru. However, seeing that Mount Meru was filled with lightning, he did not dare to get too close. He could only wait at the foot of Mount Meru. Although he had not personally seen Yun Shujo being struck by lightning, he had heard from Lan Luochen that normal heavenly lightning would not do anything to Yun Shujo. Moreover, her cultivation method depended on being struck by lightning. Yuan Ji cursed in his heart. This troublemaker's cultivation method was different from others. What a pervert. He could only curse in his heart as he waited. Finally, when the sky gradually brightened, he was surprised to find that Wu Yun was rapidly descending towards the mountain. However, due to the distance and the cover of the trees, he could not see what exactly happened. Just when he was confused, he saw that Wu Yun was rapidly flying towards him. Behind him was He Shinjo, who was sitting on the little Wu Yun. Yuan Ji had heard about the matter of He Shinjo having a little Wu Yun, but he had always thought that it was a spirit tool, and that it was a rumor spread by He Shinjo. However, at this moment, he knew with absolute certainty that it was definitely not a rumor. Because Mount Meru was a no-fly zone. If it wasn't for the little Wu Yun, it would have been impossible to fly. However, his eyes weren't playing tricks on him, right? Why did he feel that Wu Yun in front of him was running for his life? Oh God, could it be that even Wu Yun was afraid of that troublemaker? Just as Yuan Ji was thinking about it, he saw that the little Wu Yun had disappeared without a trace. He didn't know if it had landed. He was extremely curious about Yun Shuji's little Wu Yun. Hence, he could not wait to run up Mount Meru, wanting to see that little Wu Yun. However, the Wu Yun in the sky was filled with anger and had nowhere to vent it. Seeing that Yuan Ji could not wait to run up the mountain, his heart was filled with hatred. This idiot must be that smelly girl's accomplice. Humph. It could not kill that smelly girl, but it could not kill him. It just so happened that there were still a few heavenly lightning bolts left, so he could use them to strike him. Thus, boom. A heavenly lightning bolt struck toward Yuan Ji. Thus, he was struck by this heavenly lightning bolt. Yuan Ji was simply struck dumb. Who was he? Where was he? What was he doing? Fortunately, his reaction speed was still fast. He quickly activated all the defensive spirit tools on his body, even the defensive immortal tool he used to protect his life. At the same time, he also set up a spirit energy shield. At this time, another heavenly lightning struck down. Yuan Ji tried his best to jump to the side and narrowly avoided this heavenly lightning. Wu Yun in the sky was so angry. This idiot actually dared to dodge. Thus, Wu Yun struck the remaining 3 bolts of heavenly lightning towards Yuan Ji. And it was the kind of heavenly lightning that could bend. The unlucky Yuan Ji tried his best to dodge, but he was still struck by the 3 bolts of heavenly lightning. Although he had a defensive immortal tool and a spirit tool, he was still knocked out. Wu Yun saw that he was knocked out by himself, so he floated away with satisfaction. 2 hours later, Yuan Ji finally opened his eyes with a bald lady on his head. He felt that he had nothing left to live for. What did he do wrong? Why was he struck by lightning? Why? When Yuan Ji thought about how he was so miserable because of Yun Shujo, he immediately rushed up the mountain in anger. In the end, there was nothing but a few deep pits and a few strands of rags. Chapter 49-15 The miserable Yuan Ji naturally would not think that He Shinjo was dead. He was not stupid. If he had not seen her chasing after Wu Yun on the little black cloud, perhaps he would have believed it. Now, if anyone were to tell him that Yun Shujo was struck to death by lightning, he would definitely beat him into a pig's head. He thought that Yun Chuzhou had returned to the imperial city, so he changed his clothes. Thinking of his bald head, he could only take out a bamboo hat and put it on his head. However, when he returned to the imperial city, the guards said that they did not see Yun Chuzhou return to the city. Yuan Ji gritted his teeth and sent a message to his subordinates, trying his best to find Yun Chuzhou's whereabouts. He hated He Xinzhou to death. This troublemaker really knew how to cause trouble. Where did she run off to? If she was captured by the Divine Devil Hall, the pavilion master would definitely not let him off. After searching for half a day, there was still no news. Yuan Ji was instantly in a dilemma. It's over, this troublemaker is trying to get him killed. Where did she go? At this moment, a subordinate provided a piece of news. Someone had bought a flying spirit tool in one city next door. Yuan Ji's eyes immediately lit up. After asking for some details, Yuan Ji immediately concluded that the person must be Yun Chuzhou. That was because the woman did not bargain at all, nor did she ask about the performance of the flying spirit tool. She directly paid for the flying spirit tool, and was clearly very anxious. Of course, there was another important reason, and that was that the woman also wore a bamboo hat. Yuan Ji immediately went to the shop to ask about the style of the flying spirit tool. However, it was a pity that Yun Chuzhou bought the most ordinary flying spirit tool, so it was impossible to trace the clues from the flying spirit tool. Yuan Ji had no choice but to send a message to Lan Luochen, but it did not succeed. He was anxious. Where did that troublemaker go? He took out the map and looked at it. He was suddenly shocked. Did that troublemaker go to the wilderness? He had only received the news recently. For nearly a month, the wilderness was not very peaceful. He guessed that the people of the Divine Devil Hall were there to kill Di Baiming. The reason why Yuan Ji was able to receive the news at the same time as the ancestor of the Lan family was because of his connections. However, their pavilion master had been caused a lot of trouble by that troublemaker. If it wasn't for her, their pavilion master would have already soared to the sky. How could he have fallen to such a state? However, how did that troublemaker find out? Could it be that Di Baiming had sent her a message? Yuan Ji curled his lips when he thought of this. That Di Baiming had even said that he would treat that troublemaker well. Since that was the case, why did he tell that troublemaker the address? Wasn't he asking her to send herself to her death? That troublemaker was really blind. Their pavilion master was more than 10,000 times stronger than Di Baiming. Yuan Ji cursed silently as he pondered. The problem now was that the troublemaker had most likely gone to the wilderness. Should he chase after her or not? Honestly speaking, he naturally did not want to chase after her. He wished that Yun Chuzhou and Di Baiming would be killed by the Divine Devil Hall. However, if he did not chase after her, if that troublemaker died or was captured by the Divine Devil Hall, it would be easy for the pavilion master to spare him. He was afraid that their pavilion master would lose half his life because of his sadness. After struggling for a while, Yuan Ji still decided to chase after Yun Chuzhou and forcefully bring her back to the imperial city. Just as Yuan Ji was about to set off, a gust of wind coincidentally blew over, and the bamboo hat on Yuan Ji's head was blown off. Chapter 49:16 Your new hairstyle is quite unique. The coolness coming from the top of his head, as well as the eyes of his subordinates and passers-by, made Yuan Ji feel terrible. He swore that he had never been so humiliated in his life. He wished that he could find a hole to hide in. He looked at the bamboo hat that was gone for good and felt that he could not live this life anymore. He gritted his teeth. No matter what, he had to find that troublemaker as soon as possible. Otherwise, if he really let her go to the wilderness, she would be sending herself to her death. At this moment, He Xinzhou, who could be strangled to death by Yuan Ji, was hurrying on her way. After being struck by lightning, her spiritual power level had broken through to the third level of the extreme spiritual realm. Although she was still very weak, this fellow was still quite satisfied. After all, compared to the thunder desolation in the towering sky continent, Mount Meru only had one lightning strike a month, which was simply wonderful. When she passed by the next town, she bought 2 more flying spirit tools, and they were slightly different from the first one she bought. As a result, although Yuanji's flying spirit tools were faster than Yunchuji's, they were perfectly missed by Yunchujo. Of course, this was within Hei Xinjia's expectations. That blue dregs made it sound nice, saying that Yuanji would protect her, but it was actually to keep an eye on her. Yuanji chased after her for several days, but he still couldn't find Hei Xinjiu. He was so angry that he was twitching. Did that troublemaker disappear into thin air? He thought about it. Anyway, that troublemaker's destination was the Wild Hope Wilderness. He would wait at the entrance of the Wild Hope Wilderness, waiting for her. 2 days passed in a row, and Yuanji did not manage to stop Yunchujo. His heart could not help but beat faster. Was he wrong? Was the troublemaker's destination not the Wild Hope Wilderness? Buzz 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 buzz. Yuanji looked at the flying flower belly poison tail spirit bees with some annoyance. For some reason, many flower belly poison tail spirit bees had flown to the Wild Hope Wilderness from other places in the past 2 days. Could it be that some spirit plants were blooming recently? Fortunately, on the morning of the 3rd day, Yuanji blocked Hei Xinjiu, who had changed her appearance, at the entrance. As Yunchujo applied the modified hair growth pill every day, her hair had recovered to its original state. Yuanji, on the other hand, was in a hurry to chase after Yunchujo, so he did not have time to buy any hair growth pills. At this moment, her hair was only about an inch long. Yunchujo, come back with me immediately. Otherwise, I won't stand on ceremony. Yuanji said coldly. Uncle, you have the wrong person, Hei Xinjiu said calmly. No one usually enters the wilderness, so it's useless even if you disguise yourself. If you don't want to make a scene, come back to the Lan family with me immediately, Yuanji said angrily. Yunchujo shrugged. She didn't expect to fool Yuanji, so she giggled. Yuanji was furious. How did this hairstyle come about? Didn't she know? But when Yuanji thought about it, she really didn't know. He decided to swallow the fact that he had been struck by lightning to avoid being ridiculed by this darn girl. Don't talk about such nonsense. Let me ask you, are you going to leave with us? Yunchujo spread out her hands. It wasn't easy for me to get here. Naturally, I won't leave with you just like that. How about this? I see that you've brought quite a number of people here. Help me save the pretty boy and I'll return to the Lan family with you. What do you think? Yuanji was furious. Yunchujo, are you crazy? We will help you save Di Baiming. I wish that he would be killed by the divine devil Hall. Unless he is crazy, I will help you save him. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.